Chapter 587. The moment Xia Qianyu disappeared, Tang Ao suddenly had an idea and gave chase with a shout. "Bastard, don't you dare hurt my cultivation partner!" Under Tang Ao's soul power perception, Tang Ao had already discovered that Xia Qianyu had been taken away by Fang Hongjian. What made Tang Ao extremely happy was that although Fang Hongjian was only at the 6th level of the Spirit Sea realm, his speed wasn't slow at all when he was carrying someone. Even if Tang Ao used the Battle Saint Bone Life Soul and chased with all his might, he could only barely keep up with him. The reason why Fang Hongjian was so fast was because he had a pair of black wings on his back. With Tang Ao's eyesight, he could naturally see that they weren't real wings, but a life soul. Moreover, judging from the aura this life soul exuded, Tang Ao could tell that it was at least a life soul from the 24th heaven. After Tang Ao's group of 5 left, Murong Zhao's expression instantly darkened. After hesitating for 3 seconds, Murong Zhao decided to chase after Yan Yan and the 6th level Spirit Sea Realm martial artist. This was because the spirit treasure plate in Murong Zhao's hand could still detect the aura of the 9th grade divine weapon, but after Tang Ao's group of 5 left, the aura of the 9th grade divine weapon completely disappeared. It wasn't hard to tell that the 9th grade divine weapon was in the hands of one of Tang Ao's group of 5. However, Murong Zhao couldn't be sure who had it. In Murong Zhao's opinion, the possibility of it being in the hands of the 6th level Spirit Sea Realm martial artist was still higher. Therefore, after hesitating for 3 seconds, Murong Zhao didn't chase after Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu's group of 3. Instead, he chased after Yan Yan. Besides the 6th level Spirit Sea Realm martial artist, Murong Zhao was also very interested in Yan Yan. In the beginning, Murong Zhao only felt that something was wrong. He could feel a trace of danger from Yan Yan. However, Murong Zhao had immediately recognized Yan Yan after he had used the graceful reflection. Not long ago, a powerful demon had appeared in the northern region of the snowy plains. He had looted all the martial artists in the northern region. Although most of them had been beheaded by this demon, the surviving warriors still spoke of this matter. Through word of mouth, Yan Yan's information was no longer a secret. Although Yan Yan had changed his appearance and figure, Murong Zhao immediately recognized him after he used Startling Shadow. While Murong Zhao was chasing after Yan Yan and Fang Hongjian, Tang Ao was still chasing after Fang Hongjian. Just now, Tang Ao had been somewhat glad that Fang Hongjian's speed wasn't bad. But now, Tang Ao was somewhat distressed. This was because not only was Fang Hongjian's speed not weak, with the support of that pair of black wings, Fang Hongjian's speed was simply astonishing. Tang Ao summoned the Battle Saint Bone Life Soul and chased with all his might, but he still couldn't catch up to Fang Hongjian. Moreover, the distance between them was still increasing. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Tang Ao was completely left behind by Fang Hongjian. Looking at Fang Hongjian's lightning-fast speed, Tang Ao was also somewhat envious of his life soul. If Tang Ao also had such a life soul, even if he faced an opponent like Murong Zhao, Tang Ao would already be invincible. Even if Tang Ao wasn't Murong Zhao's match, Tang Ao would definitely not lose. Because with such speed, Tang Ao was certain that Murong Zhao would definitely not be able to catch up to him. Chapter 588. Tang Ao never expected Fang Hongjian to stop on his own. However, Tang Ao didn't dare to let his guard down. After all, Fang Hongjian was someone who dared to plot against Murong Zhao. He must have some tricks up his sleeve. As Fang Hongjian looked at Tang Ao in ridicule, Tang Ao sent a message to Xia Qianyu using his soul power. Fortunately, Fang Hongjian was the one who took Xia Qianyu away. If Yan Yan had taken Xia Qianyu away, Xia Qianyu's cultivation would probably have been crippled by him. After communicating with Xia Qianyu, Tang Ao immediately summoned the Frost Blood Snake and launched an attack from underground. The underground ice and snow had an obstructive and suppressive effect on soul power. Therefore, Fang Hongjian didn't notice the frost blood snake sneaking under him. Hiss! The frost blood snake hissed and broke through the ice and snow, slamming into Fang Hongjian. Although the frost blood snake's strength was suppressed on the surface, this suppression had no effect on its body as a demon beast on the 7th floor of Linghaijing. The instant the frost blood snake slammed into Fang Hongjian, he was sent flying as if he had suffered a serious injury. Tang Ao also seized the opportunity and struck Fang Hongjian's chest with his palm. Then, he rescued Xia Qianyu from Fang Hongjian's grasp. After Tang Ao rescued Xia Qianyu, Tang Ao handed Xia Qianyu an octagonal mirror that exuded a cold aura. This treasured mirror was the 8th grade divine armament, the Great Purity Mystic Mirror. Xia Qianyu had obtained the Great Purity Mystic Mirror for quite some time, so after learning the incantation to control it, Xia Qianyu was already able to use it. After handing the Great Purity Mystic Mirror to Xia Qianyu, Tang Ao guided the Jade Bone Life Soul into Xia Qianyu's body. Following that, a golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body. Tang Ao activated the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul and charged at Fang Hongjian. Fang Hongjian's speed was too fast, and it was impossible for Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu to escape from him. Furthermore, Fang Hongjian had deliberately captured Xia Qianyu just now, so it was unrealistic for him to let Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu leave now. Since that was the case, Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu could only join forces to fight Fang Hongjian. Although Fang Hongjian had been sent flying by Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake's joint attack just now, he hadn't been injured. After Fang Hongjian steadied himself, he looked at Tang Ao and his companion, as well as the Frost Blood Snake, in shock. After Tang Ao handed the mysterious clear mirror to Xia Qianyu, Fang Hongjian's eyes lit up. Grade 8 Divine Weapon, Supreme Clarity Mysterious Mirror. Seems like my luck is pretty good. If it had been Murong Xiao, he might not have been able to recognize the mysterious Tai Ching mirror at a glance. However, because Fang Hongjian had the Divine Armament Register, he recognized the mysterious Tai Ching mirror the moment he saw it. After seeing the mysterious clear mirror, Fang Hongjian's mood improved a lot. Previously, Fang Hongjian wasn't sure if the Grade 9 Divine Weapon was on Xia Qianyu, but now that he had the Grade 8 Divine Weapon, the mysterious clear mirror, even if Xia Qianyu didn't have the Grade 9 Divine Weapon, Fang Hongjian's trip wouldn't have been in vain as long as he could obtain the mysterious clear mirror. However, when Fang Hongjian saw the Frost Blood Snake on the 7th floor of Linghaijing, he frowned slightly. Although Fang Hongjian couldn't tell Tang Ao's strength, he could infer from Tang Ao's strike that Tang Ao's strength was between the 4th or 5th floor of Linghaijing. As for Xia Qianyu's strength, it was at the 5th floor of Linghaijing. Chapter 589. After Tang Ao handed the mysterious sky mirror to Xia Qianyu dragged it with both hands, and it floated in front of her. Following Xia Qianyu's incantation, the mysterious sky mirror also released waves of mysterious fluctuations. These mysterious fluctuations rippled in the air, and then continuously gathered at Xia Qianyu's feet. As Xia Qianyu continued to inject spiritual power into the mirror, the fluctuations gradually formed a special array under her feet. As Xia Qianyu became more familiar with the mysterious sky mirror, and continued to inject spiritual power into it, the azure blue array grew larger and larger. In the end, the array slowly flowed under Tang Ao's feet like a tide. Tang Ao had never come into contact with the mysterious sky mirror in his previous life, so Tang Ao did not know the purpose of the mysterious sky mirror. In his previous life, although Tang Ao had coincidentally learned the incantation to control the mysterious sky mirror, Tang Ao had not been able to find out the specific purpose of the mysterious sky mirror. After the azure blue array flowed under Tang Ao's feet, Tang Ao did not feel anything strange. At this moment, with Xia Qianyu as the center, the surrounding area of 15 feet was covered by the azure blue array. Just as Tang Ao was wondering what this special array activated by the mysterious sky mirror did, the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body suddenly stagnated, and then Tang Ao felt as if his meridians had been blocked by something. Tang Ao's spiritual power had originally been circulating very smoothly, but at this moment, the speed of circulating spiritual power in Tang Ao's body had decreased by 30%. Tang Ao's first suspicion was that Fang Hongjian had used some kind of secret technique, but under the gaze of Tang Ao's skypole eyes, the spiritual power in Fang Hongjian's body had always been in a state of accumulating power, and there was no sign of him using a secret martial technique at all. Then Tang Ao looked down at his feet, and Tang Ao was immediately stunned. This was because under Tang Ao's investigation, the azure blue array under his feet was actually continuously pouring cold air into his body. Under the effect of this special cold air, the speed at which the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body circulated also slowed down. Seeing this, Tang Ao hurriedly looked at Xia Qinyu. But when Tang Ao saw the speed at which the spirit force flowed within Xia Qinyu's body, he was immediately taken aback. At this moment, the flow of spirit force in Xia Qinyu's body happened to be the exact opposite of the flow of spirit force in Tang Ao's body. The flow of spiritual power in Tang Ao's body was very sluggish, but the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body was extremely smooth. Previously, Tang Ao had used the sky polar eyes to examine the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body. Back then, the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body was quite smooth, but it was definitely not as fast as it was now. During a battle between martial artists, the faster and more agile the spiritual energy in the body flowed, the faster and more agile the martial arts techniques and life spirit would be. Moreover, when using some special martial arts techniques, the power would increase significantly. What made Tang Ao more depressed was that in the azure blue array of the mysterious clear mirror, the flow of spiritual power in Xia Qinyu's body was extremely smooth, but the flow of spiritual power in Tang Ao's body had become sluggish. This way, Xia Qinyu would not be able to fight alongside Tang Ao. Otherwise, under the influence of the mysterious clear mirror, Tang Ao's battle strength would definitely be greatly reduced. Of course, if Tang Ao had already refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow, Tang Ao could stand at a distance and attack Fang Hongjian with the primordial sacred heavenly bow, while Xia Qinyu would engage in close combat and use the mysterious clear mirror's azure blue light to weaken Fang Hongjian's strength. But if Tang Ao had already refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow, Tang Ao felt that he would not need Xia Qinyu's help anymore. Chapter 590. Tang Ao carefully sensed the situation in his body. Not long ago, the spiritual power in his body had been flowing very slowly, but now it was flowing at a high speed. After the spiritual power in his body flowed at a high speed, Tang Ao's Battle Sage Bone Life Soul became even more resplendent. Although the Battle Sage Bone Life Soul was only at the 24th level, its strength was no less than that of a 25th level Life Soul. Although Fang Hongjian didn't care about Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's cultivation, he was still very concerned about the mysterious clear mirror. Every divine weapon above the 6th grade had the terrifying power to destroy heaven and earth. Although Xia Qinyu was still weak and couldn't unleash the full power of the mysterious clear mirror, Fang Hongjian didn't dare to be careless. There were many genius martial artists in the Black-Yellow continent, but most of them died before they could grow up. Fang Hongjian could also be considered one of the genius martial artists, but compared to those who died young, he was a little more cautious. This trace of caution had allowed him to survive countless life and death battles. Although he was completely confident in this battle, after seeing the Tai Ching mysterious mirror, he also became cautious. Fang Hongjian also saw the azure blue array formation beneath Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's feet. Although Fang Hongjian could recognize the mysterious clear mirror at a glance, He was the same as Tang Ao. He didn't understand the mysterious clear mirror's functions. As Fang Hongjian was thinking, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu attacked first. Xia Qinyu had just sent a soul message to Tang Ao, telling him that he could use the mysterious clear mirror to suppress the speed of Fang Hongjian's spiritual power circulation. However, using the mysterious clear mirror to activate the azure blue array formation would be too much of a burden on her meridians, so she told Tang Ao to finish the battle as soon as possible. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't hesitate. While letting the frost blood snake attack from the snow underground, he used the battle sage bone life soul to attack Fang Hongjian. Fang Hongjian had just been ambushed by the frost blood snake. Now that he saw the frost blood snake burrowing into the snow, he immediately rose from the ground and flew into the air. After Fang Hongjian flew into the air, the frost blood snake leaped out from the ice and snow underground and charged viciously at Fang Hongjian. Tang Ao's eyes narrowed, and a burst of azure light immediately bloomed in his eyes. Then, 8 icicles appeared out of thin air and smashed toward Fang Hongjian's head with incredible speed. At this time, Xia Qinyu also joined the battle, and the azure array formation activated by the mysterious clear mirror also enveloped Fang Hongjian. The moment he was enveloped by the formation, Fang Hongjian's expression changed. This was because the spiritual energy in his body had actually become stagnant at this critical moment. At this moment, Tang Ao and the frost blood snake had sealed off Fang Hongjian's escape route, and Xia Qinyu was waiting for an opportunity to strike. Therefore, in the face of Tang Ao and the frost blood snake's attack, Fang Hongjian could only take it head-on. However, now that the spiritual energy in his body had become stagnant, it was no longer possible for him to take on the combined attack of Tang Ao and the frost blood snake. Tang Ao's sky-limit eyes had been watching Fang Hongjian. When he saw that the spiritual energy in Fang Hongjian's body had become stagnant, Tang Ao was overjoyed, and the 7 green lotus sword souls instantly appeared behind him. The 7 green lotuses transformed behind Tang Ao for a while, and then turned into 7 green lotus swords. Tang Ao pushed out with both hands, controlling the 7 green lotus swords to attack 7 vital points on Fang Hongjian's body. If this attack landed, Fang Hongjian would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. However, Tang Ao didn't let his guard down. Fang Hongjian was someone who had dared to plot against Murong Xiao not long ago. Chapter 591. Senior Apprentice Brother Tang Ao, is he dead? Xia Qinyu saw Tang Ao unleash a barrage of attacks on Fang Hongjian. His magnificent martial skills completely covered Fang Hongjian, so Xia Qinyu couldn't see his condition clearly. Xia Qinyu couldn't see clearly, but Tang Ao could with his sky-polar eyes. He's not dead yet. This guy does have some skills. Although Fang Hongjian was in a rather sorry state, his clothes in tatters, and there were many bloodstains on his body, Tang Ao knew that the ferocious attacks just now had only caused Fang Hongjian to suffer some superficial wounds. Tang Ao also felt that Fang Hongjian's defense was very troublesome. Faced with that kind of spiritual power attack just now, even Tang Ao himself might not have been able to take it. Not to mention that he didn't suffer any injuries after taking such an attack head-on. After the mist dissipated, Xia Qinyu also saw Fang Hongjian. At this moment, Fang Hongjian's hair was disheveled, his clothes in tatters, and there were traces of sword wounds on his arms. Although Fang Hongjian looked to be in an extremely sorry state, Xia Qinyu also knew that as a 6th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist, such superficial wounds were nothing to him. Senior Apprentice Brother Tang Ao, what do we do now? Although Xia Qinyu's cultivation was on the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, she hadn't fought many times before. Before entering the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, Xia Qinyu was only a 3rd-level origin martial realm martial artist, and Xia Qinyu's battle experience stopped at the 3rd level. After entering the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, This was Xia Qianyu's first time fighting with another martial artist. Moreover, Xia Qianyu's luck was really bad. This was her first time fighting with a Sea of Souls realm martial artist, and she had already encountered an expert among experts like Fang Hongjian. After Fang Hongjian walked out of the mist, he tore off his tattered long robe. After he tore off his robe, a mithril soft armor was revealed on his body. After seeing this mithril soft armor, Tang Ao immediately understood why Fang Hongjian had only suffered a superficial wound from that fierce attack. This was because this mithril software was also a divine weapon, and this divine weapon's grade was not low, it was a 3rd grade divine weapon. As far as Tang Ao knew, the 7 Kills sect was one of the 8 major sects in the Black-Yellow territory. However, the 7 Kills sect only had a 6th grade magic weapon and a 3rd grade magic weapon. However, Fang Hongjian was not a disciple of the 8 major sects in the Black-Yellow territory, nor was he a disciple of the 6 major clans of the Desolate Antiquity. Yet, he had a 3rd grade magic weapon, which was enough to show that he was very wealthy. Senior apprentice brother Tang Ao, is his silver armor also a divine weapon? Xia Qianyu looked at the silver armor on Fang Hongjian's body and asked with some uncertainty. Tang Ao nodded. That's right. A 3rd grade divine weapon, silver snow armor, is a rare defensive divine weapon. Seeing that Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu were whispering to each other, Fang Hongjian sneered. Hand over the mysterious Tai Qing mirror, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, with your weak attacks, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Although Fang Hongjian said that, the joint attack from Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake had already consumed 30% of the spiritual power stored in the silver snow armor. If he was hit twice by Tang Ao like before, then he would be in danger. Chapter 592. After Tang Ao recognized the soft armor on Fang Hongjian's body as the silver snow armor, he immediately connected it to the god weapon list in his sea of consciousness and began to search for information on the silver snow armor. Silver snow armor, a 3rd-rank defensive divine weapon. Usually, one could pour spiritual power into the silver snow armor to increase its defense. During a battle, as the silver snow armor took more damage, the spiritual power stored in it would also be consumed. Tang Ao's sky polar eyes could see through everything in the world, so he could naturally see through the silver snow armor. Under Tang Ao's sky polar eyes, he saw that the silver snow armor only had 60% of its spiritual power left, which meant that Fang Hongjian could only block 2 attacks like the one just now. After 2 attacks, if Fang Hongjian was hit again, he would immediately bleed on the spot. Just now, the combined attack from Tang Ao and the Frost Blood Snake would severely injure a martial artist on the 7th floor of Linghaijing, but Fang Hongjian only suffered some superficial wounds. If he didn't know the ins and outs of the silver snow armor, perhaps he would have immediately thought of retreating. But Tang Ao was obviously not one of them, so when Tang Ao faced Fang Hongjian now, Tang Ao believed he had at least an 80% chance of winning. While fighting with Fang Hongjian, Tang Ao's soul power also scanned the surroundings. This Fang Hongjian was easy to deal with, but if Murong Xiao or Yan Yan caught up, things wouldn't be so easy. Fortunately, Tang Ao didn't sense their figures. Obviously, Yan Yan and Murong Xiao were still fighting, and Murong Xiao and Yan Yan didn't realize that the 9th-rank divine weapon wasn't with that 6th-level Sea of Souls realm martial artist. Tang Ao knew the ins and outs of silver armor snow, but Xia Qianyu didn't. After hearing Fang Hongjian's words, Xia Qianyu whispered to Tang Ao, "Senior brother Tang Ao, why don't I hold him off while you escape with the mysterious Supreme Purity Mirror? Otherwise, once Murong Xiao catches up, we won't be able to escape." Tang Ao was very certain of Xia Qianyu's sacrificial spirit. But at the same time, Tang Ao secretly lamented in his heart. "Sister, why do you have so little confidence in me? Although I am only at the 4th level of the spirit ocean realm, I have the heaven's polar eyes that can destroy the world, and I also have several powerful life spirit. I also have the 7th floor of Linghai Jing's spirit pet and the frost blood snake to help me. I should be able to fight against this 6th level Sea of Souls realm martial artist, right? Of course, Tang Ao wouldn't say these words to Xia Qinyu. What Tang Ao said to Xia Qinyu was, "Junior sister Xia, don't worry. Fang Hongjian is only strong on the outside." Although this silver armor snow has an amazing defense, that attack just now already used up 30% of its spiritual power. With another 2 attacks like that, the silver armor snow won't be able to protect him anymore. Tang Ao had noticed the problem of the silver armor snow's spiritual power consumption, and Fang Hongjian obviously knew it too. Fang Hongjian didn't expect Tang Ao to attack so fiercely even though he was only at the 4th level of the spirit ocean realm. Although the silver armor snow could still block 2 of Tang Ao's attacks, passive defense had never been Fang Hongjian's style. Fang Hongjian's hands quickly formed several hand seals, and then black stripes started to twine around his body like poisonous snake. Not long after, Fang Hongjian's skin was covered in these strange black stripes, and waves of black spiritual power were constantly emitted from his body. Tang Ao had never seen this move of Fang Hongjian's before, but Tang Ao could still recognize that it was a secret life spirit technique. Chapter 593. As Tang Ao watched Fang Hongjian's strength increase, he secretly thought of a countermeasure. With Tang Ao's cultivation at the 4th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, fighting against Fang Hongjian at the 6th layer was already very taxing and dangerous. Now that Fang Hongjian used this secret technique, his cultivation instantly increased to the 8th layer of the Sea of Souls realm. This kind of strength was something that Tang Ao would definitely not be able to fight against. Not only could he not fight against Fang Hongjian, but Tang Ao would also not be able to outsmart him even if he wanted to. Fortunately, Tang Ao was not fighting alone. Tang Ao still had the frost blood snake from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing and Xia Qinyu from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing to help him. Although Xia Qinyu's strength from the 5th floor of Linghai Jing was not that useful, her 8th grade divine weapon, the mysterious clear mirror, could be of some use. Alright, do you two have any last words? After Fang Hongjian increased his cultivation to the 8th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, he immediately looked at Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu with an unfriendly expression. Tang Ao had also mastered quite a few secret techniques that could increase his cultivation in a short period of time like Fang Hongjian's. However, Tang Ao's current strength was too low. Even if Tang Ao used this kind of secret technique, Tang Ao would not be able to increase his cultivation to the same level as Fang Hongjian. Seeing Fang Hongjian increase his cultivation to the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao also knew why Fang Hongjian dared to have designs on Murong Xiao not long ago. Fang Hongjian had the 3rd grade divine weapon, silver snow armor, and this secret technique that could increase his cultivation by 2 layers. Therefore, if Fang Hongjian were to fight against Murong Xiao, he would have at least a 30% chance of winning. And now, if Tang Ao and Fang Hongjian were to fight, Tang Ao felt that he should also have a 30% chance of winning. On the path of martial arts, one had to advance step by step, steadily and steadily. However, this only existed in one's imagination. In the process of a martial artist's growth, there were many times when they would encounter situations where they could not advance steadily and could only seek victory in the midst of danger. This was the situation Tang Ao was currently facing. Faced with Fang Hongjian's provocative words, Xia Qinyu didn't let Tang Ao escape with the mysterious clear mirror this time. Instead, she looked at Fang Hongjian, whose strength had soared to the 8th level of the Sea of Souls realm, in despair. If Fang Hongjian was only at the 6th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, even if Xia Qinyu wasn't his opponent, she wouldn't think that she didn't have the ability to stall him for even a moment. Now that Fang Hongjian's strength had soared to the 8th layer of the Spirit Sea realm, Xia Qinyu really couldn't hold him back anymore. "Senior brother Tang Ao, what do we do now?" Xia Qinyu asked Tang Ao while controlling the Supreme Purity Mysterious Mirror. Faced with such a situation, Tang Ao really wanted to run away. However, Tang Ao had already experienced Fang Hongjian's speed. With Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu's speed, it would be impossible for them to escape from Fang Hongjian's grasp. Thus, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu only had two choices. They could either leave the Supreme Purity Mysterious Mirror and fight with their lives on the line, or give the mirror to Fang Hongjian and run away. The first choice was for Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu to fight Fang Hongjian, who was at the 8th layer of the Sea of Souls realm, with only a 30% chance of winning. Moreover, Tang Ao couldn't guarantee that he, Xia Qinyu, and the Frost Blood Snake could survive. The second choice was to give the mirror to Fang Hongjian. However, because Fang Hongjian was worried that Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu would leak information about the mirror, he naturally wouldn't let them leave. Since that was the case, they could only fight with their lives on the line. Chapter 594. After Tang Ao asked, Xia Qinyu quickly replied, "Aside from this reverse spirit array, the Tai Ching Mystic Mirror has many other attacking methods, but they take a long time to prepare and consume a lot of spiritual power." There was one more thing that Xia Qinyu didn't tell Tang Ao. The more powerful the attack, the more burden it would put on the meridians. In Xia Qinyu's opinion, the two of them were in a life-and-death situation, so the damage to the meridians was insignificant. Although Xia Qinyu didn't say it, Tang Ao's Jade Bone Life Spirit was in her body, and the Jade Bone Life Spirit was of the same origin as Tang Ao. Therefore, Tang Ao naturally knew what was going on in Xia Qinyu's body. "Junior sister Xia, I'll hold him back later. You use the Tai Ching Mystic Mirror to attack him with your strongest attack. As an 8th grade divine weapon, it shouldn't be a problem for it to deal with an 8th level Sea of Souls realm martial artist." After hearing Tang Ao's words, Xia Qinyu nodded. Xia Qinyu was too nervous at the moment, so she didn't notice that Tang Ao was going to fight Fang Hongjian in close combat. She also didn't know how Tang Ao was going to fight Fang Hongjian in close combat. Tang Ao was only at the 4th level Sea of Souls realm, while Fang Hongjian was at the 8th level Sea of Souls realm. With such a huge gap in cultivation, if Tang Ao was hit by Fang Hongjian, he would probably be severely injured or even killed. And because Tang Ao's cultivation was too low, even if he hit Fang Hongjian, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to injure Fang Hongjian. "Junior sister Xia, make your move." While Xia Qinyu was still in a daze, a golden light flashed on Tang Ao's body. The Battle Saint Bone Life Spirit instantly attached to his body. Then, Tang Ao summoned all the life spirits in his body and surrounded Fang Hongjian. Tang Ao waved his right hand, and the Green Lotus Sword Soul appeared in front of Tang Ao. Then, the Green Lotus Sword Soul spun and transformed into 7 Green Lotus Sword. 7 Killing Divine Path, go! Tang Ao shouted, and 7 beams of light shot toward Fang Hongjian. Tang Ao's other life souls also attacked Fang Hongjian. However, in the face of Tang Ao's fierce attack, Fang Hongjian didn't even summon a single life soul. Tang Ao was secretly amused when he saw this scene. Although there was a huge difference in strength between him and Fang Hongjian was still so arrogant that he didn't even summon a single life soul when facing his attack. At that moment, Tang Ao missed a life soul he had from his previous life. The life soul he had obtained was called the Blood Shadow Needle Life Soul. If Tang Ao had this life soul in his hands, Fang Hongjian would have to pay the price for his arrogance. Unfortunately, the Blood Shadow Needle Life Soul was a 27th Firmament Life Soul. If Tang Ao could escape this time, Tang Ao would definitely awaken this life soul. But now, Tang Ao still had to focus on dealing with the predicament in front of him. When Tang Ao attacked Fang Hongjian, Xia Qinyu also extended the range of the Tai Ching Mysterious Mirror's azure array to Fang Hongjian's feet. After being covered by the azure array, the spiritual power in Tang Ao's body instantly began to circulate smoothly. The spiritual power in Fang Hongjian's body did indeed tremble, and then became a little sluggish. Chapter 595. At this moment, Tang Ao's 9 green lotus swords also turned into 9 beams of light and attacked Fang Hongjian. Although there were only 2 more green lotus swords, the lethality of the green lotus sword soul had increased by another level. Although Tang Ao's speed was not as fast as Fang Hongjian's, Tang Ao's speed was definitely not slow either. Especially Tang Ao's attack speed, it was so fast that it left people speechless. Just as Fang Hongjian moved, Tang Ao's 9 green lotus swords arrived in an instant and slashed onto Fang Hongjian's body without hesitation. However, because of the silver snow armor on Fang Hongjian's body, Tang Ao's attack was still unable to injure him. It only consumed another 30% of the silver snow armor's spirit power. After the silver snow armor blocked the 9 green lotus swords, the frost blood snake also jumped out of the ground. Then, the frost blood snake opened its huge mouth and spat out an ice breath at Fang Hongjian. Tang Ao secretly praised the frost blood snake for doing a good job. Right now, Fang Hongjian was at the 8th level of the Sea of Souls realm. Even if the frost blood snake had a thick skin, it would still be easily injured by Fang Hongjian in close combat. Therefore, the frost blood snake's use of ice breath to attack from a distance was perfect. Although the frost blood snake's intelligence was low, its battle awareness was obviously not bad. After sensing the dangerous aura on Fang Hongjian, the frost blood snake originally wanted to escape, but because Tang Ao was still fighting with Fang Hongjian, it did not run away. Although Fang Hongjian had sensed the frost blood snake underground, the frost blood snake had been using brute force to fight with him, and he did not know much about the frost blood snake. Therefore, Fang Hongjian had no idea that the frost blood snake had such a move. Caught off guard, Fang Hongjian was instantly frozen by the frost blood snake's ice breath. However, Fang Hongjian's strength was currently 1 level higher than the frost blood snake's. Thus, after the frost blood snake's ice breath froze him, Fang Hongjian's entire body shook with spiritual power, and the ice that froze him began to crack. Tang Ao knew that Fang Hongjian wanted to shatter the frost blood snake's ice, so he naturally would not let him do as he wished. Moreover, this was an opportunity for Tang Ao. Tang Ao's sky polarity eyes instantly opened, and the ice crystal array immediately appeared beneath Fang Hongjian's feet. Then, countless ice-attributed spiritual power gathered in the space, and finally condensed into pieces of ice crystals that covered Fang Hongjian's body. Inside the ice, Fang Hongjian looked at the ice crystal array that appeared out of nowhere and Tang Ao's blue eyes, and couldn't help but lick his lips. I originally thought that there would only be an 8th grade divine weapon, but I didn't expect to encounter the legendary heavenly polar eyes. It seems like we've reaped a great harvest this time. Fang Hongjian gathered his spiritual power as he jokingly said to Tang Ao. After hearing Fang Hongjian's words, Tang Ao nodded his head. That's right. Although the silver snow armor is a little lacking, it won't be a problem to exchange it for a meal once we leave the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm. Fang Hongjian time. Ao. Ilan, Snow King Tang I, Lotus, I Dragon, I Snow is you one's Tang. Now, I still have 10 breaths of time left for this secret technique. If I can't kill you in 10 breaths of time, I'll let you go. Fang Hongjian turned into a black shadow and attacked Tang Ao. Tang Ao immediately stabbed out with his 100 battle spear soul. Chapter 596. After sealing Fang Hongjian, Xia Qinyu was rather happy and said while panting, That's great, Senior Brother Tang Ao. My 6 Unity Seal can seal him for 10 breaths of time. However, Tang Ao frowned slightly when he saw the faint sneer on Fang Hongjian's face. Tang Ao had never seen this secret technique of Fang Hongjian's before, so Tang Ao didn't know how long this secret technique could last. Tang Ao had also mastered quite a few secret techniques that could temporarily increase one's cultivation level. Among the secret techniques Tang Ao had mastered, the most terrifying one was the one that could allow one's strength to skyrocket for 60 breaths of time at the cost of dissolving one's entire life soul. Take Tang Ao's current strength for example. Tang Ao was currently only at the 4th level of the Sea of Souls realm, but if Tang Ao used this secret technique, Tang Ao would instantly become a life and death realm martial artist. However, in order to obtain such a powerful strength, the price he had to pay was not small. Apart from dissolving the life soul in one's body, he would also have to pay with his life. Therefore, although Tang Ao had mastered this secret technique, Tang Ao had never used it before. There was another technique that could temporarily increase one's cultivation level by 1 level. Although the increase wasn't much, it could last up to 3 days. The most commendable thing was that after using this secret technique to increase one's cultivation level, the price to pay was only being unable to use spiritual power for 3 months. In his previous life, when Tang Ao encountered some danger and explored some dangerous places, he often used this secret technique. Tang Ao had mastered quite a few similar secret techniques, but Tang Ao couldn't tell which one Fang Hongjian was using to increase his cultivation level. Moreover, from the smile on Fang Hongjian's face, Tang Ao could tell that Xia Qinyu had definitely fallen for it. After using the 6 Unity Seal, Xia Qinyu's spiritual power had been completely exhausted, and her meridians had also suffered varying degrees of damage. In other words, Xia Qinyu was unable to use the Tai Ching mysterious mirror to help him now. And Tang Ao's thoughts were not wrong at all. Fang Hongjian's fear of the mysterious clear Qi mirror far exceeded that of Tang Ao and the frost blood snake working together. Therefore, before Fang Hongjian killed Tang Ao, Fang Hongjian still wanted to remove the threat of the Tai Ching mysterious mirror. Now that he saw Xia Qinyu collapse weakly to the ground after using the 6 combination seal, Fang Hongjian realized that the time had come. However, at that moment, Fang Hongjian suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of danger, and the source of this danger was none other than Tang Ao. Originally, Tang Ao's sky polar eyes only had a pattern of 6 snowflakes, but now the 6 snowflakes had become 12 snowflakes. Heavenly ice of 8 evils. Tang Ao roared. 90% of the spiritual power in his body was consumed in an instant. 8 massive armored terracotta soldiers descended from the sky. These terracotta soldiers were all made of crystal clear ice, and they all had different expressions. However, when these terracotta soldiers landed around Fang Hongjian, his soul power and spiritual power were immediately suppressed to the point where he couldn't circulate them. This was the perfect opportunity to kill Fang Hongjian, but Tang Ao still didn't do so. Instead, his body flashed with a golden light, and he immediately brought Xia Qinyu underground into the snowy plains. This time, Tang Ao's actions were absolutely correct. Although Fang Hongjian couldn't move, the 3 pitch-black nails happened to fly past the spot where Tang Ao had just been standing. Chapter 597. However, what Fang Hongjian didn't expect was that although Tang Ao's cultivation wasn't high, his battle experience was obviously very rich. Given the opportunity just now, Tang Ao didn't kill him and instead chose to escape. Tang Ao hadn't noticed the soul-devouring nail that Fang Hongjian had hidden in the dark, but Tang Ao felt that it was strange that Fang Hongjian had been sealed by Xia Qinyu's 6 harmonies seal. Although Tang Ao and Fang Hongjian had been fighting fiercely just now, Xia Qinyu's 6 harmonies seal hadn't been activated very quickly. Tang Ao felt that even with his own speed, he had a 70% chance of avoiding Xia Qianyu's 6 harmonies seal. Fang Hongjian's speed was much faster than Tang Ao's, so Tang Ao felt that Fang Hongjian could probably avoid it easily. Fang Hongjian could obviously avoid Xia Qianyu's attack, but he was still hit by her. There had to be something fishy going on. Although Tang Ao couldn't detect it, he still thought of a countermeasure. Since Fang Hongjian had been sealed by Xia Qianyu's 6 harmonies seal, Tang Ao might as well seal him even more thoroughly so that he could escape with Xia Qianyu. 8 Evil Heavenly Ice was an ability that Tang Ao had learned not long ago. However, in Tang Ao's opinion, if he wanted to use the 8 Evil Heavenly Ice's power, he would need to be at least at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. Although Tang Ao had also summoned the 8 Evil Heavenly Ice, the 8 Evil Heavenly Ice that Tang Ao had summoned only had the appearance and not the actual power. Fang Hongjian had been sealed by Xia Qianyu's 6 harmonies seal in the first place, so Tang Ao's 8 Evil Heavenly Ice had been able to succeed so easily. At this moment, Tang Ao was carrying Xia Qianyu in his arms as they continuously traveled through the ice and snow underground. Meanwhile, the Frost Blood Snake was clearing a path for Tang Ao. The Frost Blood Snake had always lived in the ice and snow underground, so it was extremely happy when it came to the ice and snow underground. After a short while, the Frost Blood Snake had already taken Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu far away. After Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu escaped, the densely packed black patterns on Fang Hongjian's body began to writhe as if they were alive. Although Fang Hongjian was sealed in ice, these black stripes still turned into wisps of black gas that seeped out of the layer of ice. After the black gas seeped out, it transformed into the phantom of a monster that crawled in front of Fang Hongjian. Fang Hongjian said coldly, "Black Demon, smash the 8 ice men around us." After hearing Fang Hongjian's order, Black Demon's hands transformed into 2 sharp blades, and then he arrived in front of an Iceman. This Iceman was 5 meters tall. Even Black Devil, who was 6 meters tall, seemed tiny in front of him. Black Demon arrived in front of Iceman and stabbed his sharp blade at Iceman without hesitation. But before Black Demon's sharp blade could pierce Iceman, it was frozen by Iceman's extremely cold aura. Moreover, this cold aura was still spreading, and there was a faint tendency to freeze Black Demon as well. However, at this moment, a black demonic flame suddenly rose from Black Demon's body, and the cold aura on Iceman's body was immediately dispersed by the scorching demonic flame. Then, Black Demon waved his hand, and the demonic flame split into 8 wisps that flew toward the 8 icemen around him. These icemen were all condensed from mystic ice, but when the black demonic flame flew toward them, the 8 huge icemen actually began to burn slowly. After the 8 icemen were all incinerated, Fang Hongjian also immediately got out of there. Fang Hongjian glanced at the snow hole that Tang Ao had created when he escaped. After hesitating for a moment, Fang Hongjian did not chase after him. Chapter 598. After Tang Ao traversed through the snow for a while, he put Xia Qianyu down. Xia Qianyu had expended too much energy just now, and her body was a little weak. Xia Qianyu had already fainted after her spirit energy was depleted and her meridians were damaged. After Tang Ao put Xia Qianyu down, he immediately controlled the Jade Bone Life Soul to heal Xia Qianyu's injuries. Although the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul would also take the initiative to repair Xia Qianyu's injuries, under Tang Ao's guidance, the Jade Bone Vitality Life Soul's recovery effect was better, and the speed was much faster. After sitting down, Tang Ao suddenly smacked his head. Tang Ao had originally planned to visit Bing Xian with her sister Bing Tong, but because of the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao delayed this matter. Tang Ao was now extremely far away from Bing Xian, so even though Tang Ao had planted a soul imprint on her, Tang Ao couldn't sense her location at all. Tang Ao controlled the Jade Bone Life Soul to heal Xia Qianyu's injuries, and at the same time, he recovered his spirit energy. After using the 8 Evils Heavenly Ice, Tang Ao's spirit energy was instantly drained by 90%. In addition, after using the 8 Evils Heavenly Ice, Tang Ao had brought Xia Qianyu through the snow for so long, and at this moment, the spirit energy in Tang Ao's body was almost depleted. The continuous high-intensity battles over the past few days had caused Tang Ao's cultivation to show signs of a breakthrough. Tang Ao now felt that his cultivation was too low, and there were many inconveniences in the underworld Emperor mystic realm. Now that his cultivation was showing signs of a breakthrough, Tang Ao naturally wanted to break through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing in one go. As Tang Ao missed the Spirit Pagoda, Tang Ao's cultivation was now one level lower than the mainstream warriors. Now that he had broken through the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao's cultivation level could be maintained at an above-average standard among the warriors in the snowfield. After breaking through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, although Tang Ao was still no match for Murong Xiao, Fang Hongjian, and the others, Tang Ao would not be so passive when facing Fang Hongjian again. When Tang Ao sat down to regulate his breathing, Xia Qianyu was still asleep. She smacked her lips from time to time as if she was eating something. Tang Ao looked at Xia Qianyu, who was sleeping soundly. Her pretty face was pink and tender, and her little mouth was also smacking, making him want to kiss her. However, even though he couldn't help it, Tang Ao still endured it in the end. Although Xia Qianyu was a feast for the eyes, Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu did not have any feelings for each other, and their relationship had not reached that level yet. Although Tang Ao wasn't a righteous person, he still wouldn't take advantage of someone's precarious situation. Of course, this was just Tang Ao's inner thoughts, because at this moment, Tang Ao was about to kiss Xia Qianyu's pretty face. However, at this moment, Xia Qianyu, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly moved, and Tang Ao jumped up in shock. Seeing that Xia Qianyu had only turned over, Tang Ao also breathed a sigh of relief. However, Tang Ao did not approach Xia Qianyu again. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and prepared to break through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Just now, Tang Ao had been unable to control his evil fire, but after being scared by Xia Qianyu, Tang Ao's evil fire that had rushed to his head was completely extinguished by Xia Qianyu. In the ice and snow underground, Tang Ao's soul power was also suppressed by the surrounding ice and snow. Even now, Tang Ao's soul power could only detect a distance of 300 feet around him. For a martial artist like Tang Ao, a distance of 300 feet wasn't very far. However, in a situation where other martial artists were unable to use their soul power in the ice and snow underground, a warning range of 300 feet was enough. Therefore, after Tang Ao released his soul power to sense his surroundings, he immediately started to break through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Chapter 599. After breaking through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao slowly let out a breath of turbid air. Tang Ao opened his eyes. Xia Qianyu was still unconscious. At this moment, the damage to her meridians had been completely healed by Tang Ao's Jade Bone Life Soul. However, because Xia Qianyu's physique was too weak, her spiritual power had been depleted, and her meridians had been damaged. Thus, Xia Qianyu was still unconscious. Now that Tang Ao had shaken off Fang Hongjian, there was no longer any danger in this underground snow plain. Thus, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't wake her up. And since Tang Ao had just broken through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao needed some time to consolidate his cultivation. Tang Ao sat cross-legged in the snow cave. He followed the meridians of the ancient god moving heavens technique to control the spiritual power in his body. As the spiritual power continued to circulate, Tang Ao's spiritual power became more and more agile. While tempering his spiritual power, Tang Ao also constantly refined his soul power. When Tang Ao first came to the underground snow plain, Tang Ao was like other martial artists. He couldn't use his soul power underground. But as Tang Ao refined his soul power, Tang Ao's soul power could now detect a radius of 300 feet in the snow plain. And the reason why Tang Ao refined his soul power was not only because Tang Ao wanted to sense farther underground, but also because Tang Ao wanted to refine as many of the restrictions on the primordial sacred heavenly bow as possible. The primordial sacred heavenly bow had a total of 1,800 layers of restrictions. With Tang Ao's current strength, as long as Tang Ao could refine 300 layers of restrictions, he would probably have few opponents in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm. As Tang Ao continued to strengthen himself in the underground snow cave, there were 3 people at the place where Tang Ao and Fang Hongjian had just fought. Tang Ao naturally knew these 3 people, because they were Fang Hongjian, Yan Yan, and Murong Xiao. When Murong Xiao caught up to Yan Yan, he didn't fight him immediately. Instead, he asked Yan Yan to check if the 6th level Sea of Soul's Realm martial artist had a 9th grade divine weapon. If he did, they would fight to see who was stronger. If not, then there was no need to waste time. Yan Yan also agreed to Murong Xiao's suggestion, but after a search, he found that the martial artist only had a 4th grade divine weapon. Murong Xiao already had a 3rd grade divine weapon, the unfettered blade. A 4th grade divine weapon wouldn't improve much for Murong Xiao's cultivation. Thus, Murong Xiao did Yan Yan a favor and gave the 4th grade divine weapon to Yan Yan. After giving the 4th grade divine weapon to Yan Yan, Murong Xiao immediately chased after Fang Hongjian. Murong Xiao had planted a soul imprint on Fang Hongjian, so Murong Xiao quickly found Fang Hongjian. But what Murong Xiao didn't expect was that Yan Yan also followed him. Murong Xiao looked at Fang Hongjian and asked, "Junior apprentice brother Fang, did you get the 9th grade divine weapon?" When Fang Hongjian heard Murong Xiao's words, he grinned. "Then, the 9th grade divine weapon really is in that brat's hands." Unfortunately, he escaped. As Fang Hongjian spoke, he pointed at the tunnel that Tang Ao had escaped from. Tang Ao is only at the 4th level of the Sea of Soul's realm, and Xia Qianyu is only at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Junior apprentice brother Fang is at the 6th level of the Sea of Soul's realm, so you can't take them down? Murong Xiao's methods were indeed impressive. In a short moment, he had found out the names of Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu. Chapter 600. Upon hearing that Tang Ao possessed the heavenly polar eyes and Xia Qianyu possessed the 8th grade mysterious clear mirror, Yan Yan and Murong Xiao were both shocked. After thinking for a moment, Murong Xiao said, "In that case, that 9th grade divine weapon is most likely in their hands. There are 3 of us here. Why don't the 3 of us join forces and drag out Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu, then each of us can have 1 divine weapon." Senior brother Murong's suggestion is not bad, but which treasure do you and senior brother Yan want? Let's make it clear now to avoid conflict later. Fang Hongjian immediately agreed to Murong Xiao's suggestion. After hesitating for a moment, Murong Xiao said to Yan Yan, "Junior brother Yan, you can choose first." Yan Yan was not as scheming as Murong Xiao and Fang Hongjian. Thus, after Murong Xiao let him choose first, Yan Yan directly said, "I want Tang Ao's heavenly polar eyes. I'm not very interested in the other 2. After Yan Yan made his choice, without waiting for Murong Xiao to ask, Fang Hongjian continued, "Since that's the case, I'll choose the mysterious sky mirror. That 9th grade divine weapon will belong to senior brother Murong." The reason why Fang Hongjian chose the mysterious clear mirror was because he had seen it with his own eyes, and it was still in Xia Qianyu's hands until now. As for that 9th grade divine weapon, it was somewhat unrealistic. In Fang Hongjian's opinion, if Tang Ao really had a 9th grade divine weapon, he should have taken it out and used it during the battle earlier. In the end, Tang Ao did not take out the 9th grade divine weapon to deal with him from the beginning to the end. Instead, it was Xia Qianyu who used the 8th grade mysterious clear mirror that caused him quite a bit of trouble. After hearing Yan Yan and Fang Hongjian's choices, Murong Xiao laughed coldly in his heart. He then said, "Since that's the case, then I'll go get that 9th grade divine weapon." Murong Xiao could understand what Fang Hongjian and Fang Hongjian were thinking. But now that Tang Ao's whereabouts were unknown, there was no need for Murong Xiao to fall out with them. Now, although Murong Xiao said that he wanted to obtain the 9th grade divine weapon, as long as the timing was right, whether it was the heavenly polar pupils, the mysterious clear mirror, or the 9th grade divine weapon, they would all be Murong Xiao's possessions. Of course, before that, the three of them had to find Tang Ao. Now that Tang Ao's whereabouts are unknown, do you two senior brothers have any good ideas? Fang Hongjian immediately asked Murong Xiao and Yen Yen after the three of them came to a consensus. Murong Xiao shook his head. Although I've planted a soul imprint on Tang Ao, I can't sense his existence right now. Tang Ao must be hiding in the depths of the ground. Yen Yen didn't say anything. He was a man of few words to begin with, and he was even more unwilling to say something like this that was unnecessary. Murong Xiao and Yen Yen had no ideas, but Fang Hongjian had one. Since both senior brothers have no ideas, I do have one. After saying that, Fang Hongjian took out a metal box from his storage ring. Even with Murong Xiao's eyesight, he couldn't recognize what this metal box was. Thus Murong Xiao asked, "Junior brother Fang, what treasure is inside the box?" Fang Hongjian didn't answer. Instead, he said to Murong Xiao, "Senior brother Murong, you'll know once you see it." After saying that, Fang Hongjian opened the metal box. There was some golden sand in the box, and on top of the golden sand lay a golden rat. After seeing this rat, Murong Xiao was shocked. Could this be the legendary treasure-seeking rat? Chapter 601. At that moment, Tang Ao was still in the snow cave and didn't know that danger was coming. Tang Ao had finished regulating his breathing and his cultivation had been consolidated. Seeing that Xia Qinyu was still unconscious, Tang Ao didn't wake her up. Tang Ao thought for a moment and took out 16 array flags from his storage ring. Then, he waved his hand and stuck the 16 array flags in the surroundings. These 16 array flags were used to set up a defensive array formation. However, this defensive array formation was a little special. Besides being able to defend against external attacks, it could also conceal the aura within the array formation. The primordial sacred sky bow had caused too much of a commotion. Tang Ao was worried that the aura of the primordial sacred sky bow would be exposed again if he took it out. After all the preparations were done, Tang Ao took out the primordial sacred sky bow from his storage ring. Fortunately, the primordial sacred sky bow didn't cause any abnormalities this time. It just quietly floated in front of Tang Ao. Tang Ao also carefully examined this 9th grade divine weapon. In his previous life, Tang Ao had been injured by the primordial sacred sky bow. However, Tang Ao didn't hate it. Instead, he desired this divine weapon even more. Because in Tang Ao's previous life, there weren't many treasures that could injure Tang Ao. The primordial sacred sky bow was made of mystic crystal. It was dazzling with golden light and looked majestic. There were 9 dragons circling the bow and many gems that Tang Ao had never seen before were embedded on the bow. Although these gems were embedded, they were completely integrated with the bow. It didn't look like they were embedded. Instead, they looked like they grew out of the bow. Tang Ao counted. There were 9 gems in total. Moreover, they were of different colors and were unusually dazzling. At that moment, the primordial sacred sky bow quietly floated in front of Tang Ao. Other than seeing that this divine bow was extremely beautiful, Tang Ao couldn't sense any dangerous aura from it. At this moment, this divine bow was like a gorgeous ornament, making it difficult for people to associate it with a 9th grade divine weapon. Another thing that Tang Ao felt was a little strange was that this bow had no strings. The primordial sacred sky bow had a string in the God armament register. However, the current primordial sacred sky bow didn't have a string. Tang Ao couldn't help but feel nervous. Could it be that the primordial sacred heaven bow that he had obtained with great difficulty was actually a defective product? However, Tang Ao quickly dispelled this doubt, because the moment Tang Ao grabbed the primordial sacred sky bow, the bowstring of the primordial sacred sky bow appeared instantly. While Tang Ao was surprised, he also pretended to pull the bowstring, ready to enjoy it. However, the moment Tang Ao pulled the bowstring, a cold, golden arrow appeared in Tang Ao's hand. At that moment, Tang Ao had not refined any of the restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow. Tang Ao also wanted to know what kind of power the primordial sacred sky bow could unleash now. Hence, when Tang Ao pulled the primordial sacred sky bow, the surrounding spiritual power of heaven and earth rushed to gather the moment Tang Ao pulled the primordial sacred sky bow. In the end, it was absorbed and refined by the primordial sacred sky bow, continuously strengthening the strength of the golden arrow. As the spiritual power gathered, Tang Ao's hands started to tremble. This spiritual power was too vast and violent. Tang Ao couldn't control it anymore. Finally, when Tang Ao's control of the spiritual power reached a limit, Tang Ao loosened his hand and the golden arrow shot out. Tang Ao only heard a buzz sound in the air. Then, the golden arrow disappeared completely. Chapter 602. After Tang Ao shot the arrow with the primordial sacred sky bow, he didn't use up any spiritual power. However, because he had absorbed a large amount of spiritual power from the heaven and earth, Tang Ao's meridians felt swollen and painful. Tang Ao was extremely satisfied with the primordial sacred heaven bow. At this moment, Tang Ao had yet to refine the primordial sacred heaven bow, but it already had such power. Once Tang Ao refined the primordial sacred sky bow into 300 layers of restrictions, it would be hard for Tang Ao to find a worthy opponent in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm. Hence, Tang Ao's vast soul power swept out and completely enveloped the primordial sacred sky bow. After Tang Ao used his soul power to completely envelop the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao's soul power also slowly seeped into the primordial sacred sky bow. Under Tang Ao's soul power perception, the interior of the primordial sacred sky bow was like a galaxy. There were 1,800 stars in the Milky Way. At this moment, these 1,800 stars were very dim. Through the God Armament Register, Tang Ao knew that these 1,800 stars were the 1,800 restrictions of the primordial sacred sky bow. If he wanted to unleash the primordial sacred sky bow's full power, he had to refine all 1,800 stars. Tang Ao loved the primordial sacred sky bow so much that he couldn't bear to part with it. Hence, when he saw these stars, he immediately started refining them. Tang Ao's goal this time was to refine the 300 layers of restrictions of the primordial sacred sky bow. However, as Tang Ao didn't know how the restrictions were, Tang Ao decided to refine one star first. When Tang Ao's soul power touched the first star, it was immediately refined by Tang Ao's majestic soul power. Seeing this, Tang Ao was ecstatic. Although the primordial sacred sky bow was a 9th-grade god armament, it wasn't as difficult to refine as he imagined. Thus, Tang Ao continued to refine the second star. Although this star was also quickly refined by Tang Ao noticed that the refining process of this star was twice as difficult as the previous one. It was just that his soul power was too strong, so he refined the second star in the blink of an eye. After refining the second star sphere, Tang Ao began to refine the third star sphere. At the same time, he wanted to verify if his guess was correct. After Tang Ao refined the third star sphere, Tang Ao knew that his guess was correct. This was because the third star sphere was also twice as strong as the second star sphere. Right now, Tang Ao's soul power was already not inferior to the 9th floor of Linghai Jing's martial practitioners. Therefore, when Tang Ao refined the 3rd star, he also refined it in the blink of an eye. With these 3 successful refining experiences, Tang Ao also became bolder. This time, Tang Ao's soul power covered 10 stars at once. Then, Tang Ao closed his eyes slightly and started to refine these 10 stars at the same time with full concentration. This time, Tang Ao's refinement lasted for a full 10 breaths of time. Although it was a little longer, Tang Ao still felt very relaxed. In other words, at the current stage, refining 10 stars at once wasn't Tang Ao's limit. It just so happened that Tang Ao also wanted to know how many layers of restrictions he could refine on the primordial sacred sky bow. Therefore, when Tang Ao refined it this time, Tang Ao's soul power directly covered 50 stars at the same time. After covering 50 stars at the same time, Tang Ao's soul suddenly felt a tearing pain, and Tang Ao suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 603. In the underground snow cave, Tang Ao's boundless soul power was incessantly surging out, ultimately entering the primordial sacred sky bow without the slightest hesitation. As Tang Ao's soul power continued to pour in, the primordial sacred sky bow's golden radiance became increasingly resplendent. Under the contrast of the resplendent golden radiance, the 9 gems on the primordial sacred sky bow also became increasingly beautiful. However, at this moment, Xia Qinyu was unconscious, and Tang Ao's eyes were slightly closed. Therefore, no one came to admire the beauty of the primordial sacred sky bow. After 2 hours, Tang Ao had refined 36 layers of the primordial sacred sky bow's restrictions. After Tang Ao refined 36 layers of the primordial sacred heavenly bow's restriction, Tang Ao's soul power was completely depleted. Before refining the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao still had the ambition to refine 300 layers of restrictions in one go. But now, after Tang Ao had used up the boundless soul power on the 9th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao had only refined 36 layers of restrictions. At this moment, Tang Ao also somewhat understood why the Divine Bao Sek's peak 9th level astral reaching realm Supreme Elder in his previous life could only refine 800 layers of restrictions after spending 1,000 years. This primordial sacred sky Bao's restrictions were rather special. The later layers were twice as many as the previous ones. Therefore, the more restrictions he refined, the more difficult it was for Tang Ao to refine. Moreover, during the process of refining restrictions, he couldn't stop. Once he did, all his previous efforts would be wasted. After refining 36 layers of restrictions, Tang Ao still had some leftover power. Therefore, Tang Ao began to refine 37 layers of restrictions. However, after refining 37 layers of restrictions, Tang Ao's soul power was completely exhausted after refining half of them. Therefore, Tang Ao was forced to stop. After Tang Ao stopped, Tang Ao discovered that the 37th restriction that he had refined halfway had returned to its unrefined state in the blink of an eye after he withdrew his soul power. After his soul power was depleted, Tang Ao immediately communicated with the Jade Bone Life soul in his body to restore his soul power. At the same time, Tang Ao also activated the ancient god moving sky technique and quietly adjusted his breathing. Although Tang Ao had broken through to the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao was still no match for Murong Xiao and the others. It was clearly impossible for him to make another breakthrough in his cultivation in a short period of time. Therefore, Tang Ao could only continuously refine the restriction of the primordial sacred sky Bao so that the primordial sacred sky Bao could unleash the power to fight against Murong Xiao and the others. While Tang Ao was quietly adjusting his breathing, Xia Qinyu, who was in a deep sleep, smacked her lips again. She seemed to be dreaming of eating something again. After entering the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm, Xia Qianyu had been on tenterhooks all the time. She had never slept a wink. This time, she had expended too much energy and her vitality was greatly injured. Therefore, she had a good sleep. As for Tang Ao, he was recovering his soul power while examining the primordial sacred sky bow in his hand. After refining 36 layers of restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao could clearly feel that the primordial sacred sky bow's aura was much stronger. Tang Ao estimated that he should be able to refine more than 40 layers of restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow after recovering his soul power this time. As for refining the primordial sacred sky bow to the 300th layer, Tang Ao felt that he would need at least half a month. Moreover, Tang Ao wasn't sure if his current soul power could refine more than 100 layers of restrictions. Chapter 604. Tang Ao's soul power had already reached the strength of a martial artist on the 9th floor of Linghai Jing, and it was constantly approaching the strength of a life and death realm martial artist. This was the combined effect of the hidden jade body in stone, the ancient god moves the heavens, and the jade bone life soul. However, although his soul power was strong, Tang Ao wasn't a martial artist on the 9th floor of Linghai Jing, so his recovery speed was not as fast as expected. While Tang Ao was recovering his soul power, the frost blood snake had also returned. At this moment, the mysterious clear mirror was floating beside the frost blood snake. After it came to Tang Ao's side, the frost blood snake placed the mysterious clear mirror beside Xia Qianyu. When Tang Ao was running for his life, Tang Ao vaguely felt that someone had left an imprint on the mysterious clear mirror. Although Tang Ao couldn't sense what this imprint was, for safety's sake, Tang Ao still let the frost blood snake take the mysterious clear mirror one round in the underground ice field. The snowfield was divided into 4 regions: north, south, east, and west. The frost blood snake was extremely fast in the ice and snow, so it had already circled around the snowfield with the mystic crystal mirror. After circling the snowy field once, the frost blood snake was clearly very happy. Although it didn't communicate with Tang Ao, because Tang Ao had formed a spirit beast contract with it, Tang Ao could still vaguely feel the frost blood snake's excitement. The frost blood snake was very excited, but Murong Xiao and the other two's faces were very gloomy. Yen Yen had always been expressionless, but at this moment, his face was so gloomy that it could drip water. Murong Xiao had always been very calm, as if nothing could cause his emotions to change. However, at this moment, Murong Xiao's face was also gloomy, and there was a faint killing intent leaking out. Fang Hongjian's face was also ashen as he looked at the tunnel in front of him. The 3 of them followed the treasure-seeking rat underground to track Tang Ao's whereabouts. But at this moment, Fang Hongjian and the other 2 had already followed the treasure-seeking rat and circled the underground snow 3 times, but they still hadn't seen a single trace of Tang Ao. Moreover, under the urging of Fang Hongqian's smash, Fang Hongqian's treasure-seeking rat was so tired that it was foaming at the mouth. "Junior brother Fang, you just said that Tang Ao has a frost blood snake spiritual pet from the 7th floor of Linghai Jing?" Murong Xiao looked at the perfectly round underground tunnel. It did not look like it was dug by a human martial artist. It was more like it was left behind by a snake-type demonic beast. After hearing Murong Xiao's question, Fang Hongqian suddenly understood. What senior brother Murong means is that Tang Ao might have discovered that the treasure-seeking rat left a mark on the sky crystal mirror, so he intentionally let the frost blood snake take the sky crystal mirror and run around in the ice and snow to fool us. That's a possibility, but it seems that relying on the treasure-seeking mouse to find Tang Ao won't work. We can only wait for a period of time, when the aura of the sky crystal mirror in the underground snow tunnel has dissipated, and then use the treasure-seeking mouse to search for him. Murong Xiao slowly let out a breath, and said in a cold voice as he looked at the complicated ice and snow tunnel. Murong Xiao had been very intelligent since he was young, and as he gradually grew up, His shrewdness and wisdom became even more outstanding. Thus, it had always been Murong Xiao who played with others, while others could never play with him, Murong Xiao. He never thought that he would be played by a weak 4th-level spiritual ocean realm martial artist, so Murong Xiao was in a very bad mood. At this time, Yen Yen, who had been silent all this time, also spoke. I'm afraid that the aura in this tunnel will need 3 days to completely dissipate. Since that's the case, we'll come back here in 3 days. After saying this, Yen Yan's figure flashed and disappeared. Chapter 605. Back then, when Tang Ao broke into the Heavenly Bao sect, the primordial sacred sky Bao had only been refined with 800 restrictions, and it was already able to injure Tang Ao, who was at the peak of astral reaching realm level 9. Now that Tang Ao had refined the 36 restrictions, Tang Ao was also very curious about the primordial sacred sky Bao's current power. Thus, Tang Ao continuously poured all of his spirit power into the primordial sacred sky Bao, slowly pulling it back. As Tang Ao's spirit power continued to pour in, an astonishingly powerful aura began to brew on the mysterious sky arrow. When this aura reached its limit, Tang Ao loosened his grip, and the mysterious sky arrow shot out with a thunderous momentum. The thick layer of ice and snow in front of Tang Ao was also shattered by this arrow, and the ground was covered in a 10-li snow fog. If Murong Xiao and the other two were nearby, they would be able to find Tang Ao's whereabouts easily without the treasure-seeking mouse. Tang Ao saw the primordial sacred sky Bao cause such a huge commotion, and he was slightly shocked. Now that Tang Ao had refined the primordial sacred sky Bao with 36 restrictions, its current power was equivalent to a full-powered attack from a martial artist of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Tang Ao was currently at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing's strength. If Tang Ao wanted to cause such destruction, he would have to use 90% of his spirit power. However, after Tang Ao used the primordial sacred sky Bao to launch such a powerful attack, Tang Ao had only used 20% of his spirit power. As Tang Ao examined the primordial sacred sky Bao in his hand, Xia Qinyu also woke up. Xia Qinyu was supposed to be unconscious for a while before she woke up, but Tang Ao made too much noise, so Xia Qinyu woke up. Xia Qinyu opened her eyes and saw Tang Ao fiddling with an exquisite bow. She couldn't help but ask, "Senior brother Tang Ao, what is this?" Tang Ao didn't plan on hiding it from Xia Qinyu, so he told her honestly, "This is the primordial sacred sky Bao." Xia Qinyu had never heard of the primordial sacred sky Bao, so she didn't have much of a reaction when Tang Ao told her that it was the primordial sacred sky Bao. Tang Ao found it strange when he saw Xia Qinyu's indifferent expression. "Junior sister Xia, aren't you surprised to know that this is the primordial sacred sky Bao?" In Tang Ao's opinion, even a peak astral-reaching realm 9th-level martial artist wouldn't be able to keep his cool after hearing about the primordial sacred sky Bao. However, Xia Qinyu had a calm expression after knowing it was the primordial sacred sky Bao. "Why would I be surprised?" Xia Qinyu said innocently. "This primordial sacred sky Bao is a 9th-grade divine weapon. Murong Xiao is going through a lot of trouble just to get his hands on it." Tang Ao suddenly thought that the primordial sacred sky Bao was a divine weapon from 10,000 years ago, so Xia Qinyu probably didn't know about it at all. After all, not everyone had the divine weapon list. And the truth was just as Tang Ao thought. Xia Qinyu had never heard of the primordial sacred sky Bao. When Tang Ao said that the Bao in his hand was the 9th-grade divine weapon Murong Xiao was looking for, Xia Qinyu was a bit surprised. Originally, Xia Qinyu thought that the mysterious clear mirror in her hand was the treasure Murong Xiao was looking for. She didn't expect that the treasure Murong Xiao was looking for was this primordial sacred sky Bao. Chapter 606. Tang Ao recalled all the information he knew about the snowfield, hoping to find clues to leave the snowfield. Before entering the Shenong ruins, the Shenong stone tablet had said that as long as he passed the 3 tests, he could enter the main hall to receive the Shenong inheritance. In the first test, Tang Ao had used the Jade Bone Life Soul to devour the vitality. Following that, Tang Ao skipped the second test and came to the third test because he had the ruins map. According to other warriors, the second level of the Shenong ruins had a spirit pagoda that could enhance a warrior's strength. Apart from that, each level of the spirit pagoda had a good item. The higher the floor, the better the treasures one could obtain. At the thought of this, Tang Ao felt regretful after missing out on the spirit pagoda. Following that, Tang Ao thought of the skeleton in the snow cave. According to the skeleton, the snowfield seemed to drain a warrior's vitality. The blizzard cyclone that had appeared in the snowfield not long ago had really devoured a warrior's vitality. However, the blizzard cyclone's offensive power was limited. Furthermore, the way it devoured vitality was restrained by many life souls and mystic technique. In Tang Ao's opinion, a warrior with the strength of the 9th floor of Linghai Jing should be able to blast through such a blizzard cyclone with a single strike. The information was extremely messy. After Tang Ao recalled it, he realized that it was of no help to him in leaving the snowfield. However, after clearing the snowfield, he would be able to enter the main hall of the Shenong ruins. The Shenong grass that could cure Su Ning of Golden-Toothed Snake Lord's poison was in the main hall of the Shenong ruins. Therefore, Tang Ao had to think of a way to pass the 3rd level as soon as possible. After thinking hard for a while, Tang Ao still had no clue. When Xia Qinyu saw Tang Ao frown, she asked, "Senior brother Tang Ao, did something happen?" According to the past stone tablet in front of the Shenong ruins, this is the 3rd level of the Shenong ruins. As long as you clear this level, you can enter the Shenong Hall to receive the Shenong inheritance and leave. But have you noticed that there are a lot of rotten bones in this underground snow? Hearing Tang Ao say this, Xia Qinyu thought for a moment and nodded. Some time ago, in the snow cave, I saw some well-dug tunnels, and there were indeed some dried bones in them. The Dark Emperor Mystic Realm only opens once every 10,000 years. I think these skeletons should be the martial artists who participated in the Dark Emperor Mystic Realm last time. That's right. These are indeed the martial artists who came here the last time the Underworld Emperor Mystic Realm opened. Many of these martial artists were at the peak of the 9th floor of Linghai Jing, but they were all trapped here. Xia Qinyu had seen the skeletons in the snow cave, so it was much easier for Tang Ao to explain. However, after Tang Ao finished speaking, Xia Qinyu also had some doubts. "Senior brother Tang Ao, how do you know that these martial artists were trapped here to death? There are no injuries on the bones of these martial artists. Obviously, they didn't die from fighting with martial artists of the same level or fighting with monster beasts. Most of them died of natural causes. Moreover, I also found a skeleton. The skeleton said on the stone tablet that this snowfield will devour the vitality of martial artists, and he was trapped here until he died." Chapter 607. If Tang Ao had the power of an astral-reaching realm martial artist, it would be unrealistic for this snowfield to trap Tang Ao. Astral-reaching realm martial artists already had a certain understanding of the space law. To a certain extent, they could even tear the space apart. For some of the more talented martial artists, it was even more normal for them to tear the space apart. Tang Ao had the hidden jade body in stone, which was an extremely powerful body. Obviously, he was also one of the top martial artists in the same realm. However, all of this could only be thought by Tang Ao. This snowfield was extremely strange, and the natural yuan power was extremely thin. If he wanted to become an astral-reaching realm martial artist in this snowfield, he might not be able to do it even if he exhausted his lifespan. Therefore, if Tang Ao wanted to leave this snowfield, he would have to think of other ways. Senior brother Tang Ao, does that mean we can't get out? Xia Qianyu's voice was a bit timid. Obviously, being trapped in this strange snowfield was a very scary thing. No, the natural law still has a chance of survival. This snowfield is only formed by a powerful formation technique. In my opinion, as long as we can find the formation eye, or even the formation foot, we will be able to break this formation and leave this snowfield. But even with the sky polar eyes, I couldn't find any clues. After Tang Ao said that they could leave this place, Xia Qianyu also felt relieved. Although Tang Ao didn't have any clues right now, Xia Qianyu felt that what Tang Ao said just now made a lot of sense, and was also very feasible. Senior brother Tang Ao, are we going to find the formation eye or the formation foot now? Tang Ao shook his head. Right now, we shouldn't be the only ones who have discovered the strangeness of this snowfield. I believe a lot of martial artists have already found themselves trapped in this snowfield. Right now, our power is still too low. Even if we go to find the formation eye, we might not be able to find it. Once we run into Fang Hongjian and the others, it will be another fierce battle. Therefore, we won't go anywhere right now. We will just hide here and increase our power. I'll continue to refine the primordial sacred heavenly bow while you continue to study the supreme clear mystic mirror. After Tang Ao finished speaking, Xia Qianyu nodded. Tai Ching Xian mirror was the treasure of Tai Ching sect. Although Xia Qianyu had Tai Ching Xian mirror for a while, Xia Qianyu still didn't understand the function of Tai Ching Xian mirror. Just when Xia Qianyu was about to control the supreme purity mysterious mirror, Tang Ao threw 2 jade slips to Xia Qianyu. Xia Qianyu took the jade slip and asked, Senior martial brother Tang Ao, what is this? These are the middle and lower parts of the mysterious clear mirror manipulation technique. Back then, I was pressed for time, so I didn't tell you. Now that we're out of danger, I'll leave it to you. Although Tang Ao said so, Tang Ao didn't know whether Xia Qianyu was an enemy or a friend, so he just casually told her the upper part of the mysterious clear mirror manipulation technique. Now that Xia Qianyu and Tang Ao were fighting side by side, she was obviously Tang Ao's helper, so Tang Ao also told Xia Qianyu the middle and lower parts of the mysterious clear mirror manipulation technique. After getting the complete technique, Xia Qianyu also began to ponder the other mysteries of the mysterious clear mirror. Tang Ao took out the primordial sacred heavenly bow and continued to refine the enchantment on the primordial sacred heavenly bow. Now the primordial sacred heavenly bow could exert the power equivalent to the full blow of a martial artist on the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. This level of the primordial sacred heavenly bow was far from enough to fight against Yen Yen and others. Therefore, Tang Ao still had to continue refining the enchantment on the primordial sacred heavenly bow. Chapter 608. In the snow cave, Tang Ao's eyes were slightly closed as his vast soul power continuously poured into the primordial sacred sky bow floating in front of him. Then, he started to refine the star-like restrictions within the primordial sacred sky bow. Through Tang Ao's 10 days of hard work, Tang Ao had already refined 180 layers of restrictions. Tang Ao originally thought that as he refined more layers of restrictions, the primordial sacred sky bow's power would become more and more terrifying. However, the reality was not what Tang Ao had imagined. Although the primordial sacred sky bow's power continued to increase with Tang Ao's refinement, it was still far from reaching a terrifying level. After Tang Ao refined 180 layers of restrictions, the primordial sacred sky bow's power was only equivalent to a peak 6th level C of Soul's Realm martial artist's full power attack. However, with the strength of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, Tang Ao could shoot 10 arrows in a row. In other words, with Tang Ao's mere 5th floor of Linghai Jing's cultivation, under Tang Ao's full power use of the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao's attack was equivalent to 10 6th level C of Soul's Realm martial artist's full power attack. This was already a very shocking thing. Just based on this point, the primordial sacred sky bow was worthy of its title as a 9th grade divine weapon. Back then, Tang Ao had used all his tricks and still couldn't do anything to the little golden tooth snake lord, causing Su Ning to be heavily injured and dying, and Tang Ao's eyes to be destroyed by the golden tooth snake lord. If Tang Ao were to fight with the golden tooth snake lord now, Tang Ao had full confidence that he would be able to kill the golden tooth snake lord with the primordial sacred sky bow before the latter could even touch the corner of his clothes. As for the silver tooth venomous snake lord, it couldn't even take one arrow from Tang Ao. Moreover, after Tang Ao refined 180 layers of restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao could continue to refine the restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow. Tang Ao estimated that he would need at most 2 months to refine the restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow to the 300th level. Hence, after Tang Ao left the Netherworld Emperor Mystic Realm and detoxified the poison in Su Ning's body, he immediately wanted the fanged venomous snakes, silver fang venomous snakes, and golden fang venomous snakes to be exterminated. When Tang Ao thought of golden-toothed Snake King, his killing intent gushed out unnaturally. Xia Qianyu was concentrating on studying the Tai Ching Xian mirror. The killing intent that Tang Ao suddenly released startled Xia Qianyu. However, when Xia Qianyu looked at Tang Ao, she realized that Tang Ao was still refining the restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow with his eyes closed. Then, Xia Qianyu scanned her surroundings. When she realized that there was nothing out of the ordinary, she closed her eyes and sat down cross-legged. Then, she began to communicate with the artifact spirit of the Tai Ching Xian mirror. The Tai Ching Xian mirror didn't need to refine the restrictions. However, she needed to communicate with the artifact spirit of the Tai Ching Xian mirror in order to achieve the effect of using the Tai Ching Xian mirror with ease. However, the Tai Ching Xian mirror's artifact spirit's intelligence was too low. Hence, no matter how hard Xia Qianyu tried to communicate with the artifact spirit, the results were minimal. The power of the Tai Ching Xian mirror was completely under the control of the artifact spirit. Although Xia Qianyu could use her mental cultivation technique to control the Tai Ching Xian mirror, if she could communicate with the artifact spirit of the Tai Ching Xian mirror, she would be more flexible when using the Tai Ching Xian mirror in the future. The power of the Tai Ching Xian mirror would also be greater. Chapter 609. Although Tang Ao yearned for the primordial sacred sky bow and had the god weapon list, he did not have much understanding of the primordial sacred sky bow. Regardless of whether it was Tang Ao's memories from his previous life or the records in the god weapon list, he did not have much understanding of the primordial sacred sky bow. Hence, Tang Ao did not know what would happen to the primordial sacred sky bow after refining the 3 stars in the center. According to Tang Ao's division, the star that Tang Ao was refining now was the easiest of the 3 stars. The 180 stars that Tang Ao had refined were all in this region. Furthermore, Tang Ao also realized that in order to refine the star in the center of this region, he had to gradually refine all the stars in the periphery before he could refine that star. In his previous life, when Tang Ao had broken into the Heavenly Bao sect at night, the Heavenly Bao sect's Grand Elder had used the primordial sacred sky bow. At that time, the primordial sacred sky bow had not shot just one mysterious sky arrow, but thousands of mysterious sky arrows with the invisible attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Hence, Tang Ao had not been able to dodge the primordial sacred sky bow's attack, causing Tang Ao to be seriously injured and almost die. But now that Tang Ao had refined so many restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow, the primordial sacred sky bow could only shoot one mysterious sky arrow at a time. The only difference from before Tang Ao had refined the primordial sacred sky bow was that Tang Ao could now gather a large amount of heaven and earth essence energy at one time and shoot multiple mysterious sky arrows consecutively. Currently, Tang Ao could shoot 10 arrows consecutively, and the interval between each mysterious sky arrow was only 5 breaths of time. Tang Ao believed that as he continued to refine the restrictions on the primordial sacred sky bow, the interval between the mysterious sky arrows would become shorter, and the number and power of the mysterious sky arrows that could be shot consecutively would also increase. Now, Tang Ao had the 9th grade divine weapon, the primordial sacred sky bow. He also had the hidden jade in stone body and the ancient god moving heavens technique. On top of that, Tang Ao had the cultivation experience from his previous life. In the near future, Tang Ao would be able to return to the peak of his previous life, and Tang Ao was 90% sure that he would be able to break through the limits of his previous life. In his previous life, Tang Ao had not been able to see the scenery of a higher level. This was one of Tang Ao's biggest regrets in his previous life. In this life, Tang Ao would definitely not have any regret. After refining 300 layers of the restrictions in the primordial sacred heavenly bow, he would then look for a way out. Tang Ao thought to himself as he refined the restriction of the primordial sacred heavenly bow. Tang Ao and Xia Qianyu hid in the depths of the ground, studying their respective divine weapons. Above the snowfield, however, was a scene of devastation. At this moment, a monster appeared on the snowy plains. This monster was 2 zhang tall, and its entire body was covered with long white fur. Its hands were drooping to the ground, and its expression was ferocious. No one knew where these snow monsters had come from. However, at this moment, dozens of warriors had already been bitten and eaten by the snow monsters. Murong Shao waved the freedom saber in his hand, and the snow monster that was chasing Murong Shao was sent flying by Murong Shao. However, after taking a blow from Murong Shao, the snow monster that had the strength of the 7th floor of Linghai Jing was not injured. Instead, Murong Shao frowned. After he had slashed the snow monster with his saber just now, a part of his vitality had actually been swallowed. Although it was only a slight trace, Murong Shao still noticed it. After the snow monster was sent flying by Murong Shao, although it was not injured, it clearly realized that Murong Shao was not someone to be trifled with. Hence, after roaring at Murong Shao, the snow monster rushed towards the other warriors. The snow monsters of the 7th floor of Linghai Jing were nothing to Murong Shao, but to the other warriors, they were a nightmare. Chapter 610. Tang Ao, who was refining the primordial sacred sky bow, suddenly opened his eyes. In Tang Ao's soul power perception, there was a 6th level sea of soul's realm aura approaching him and Xia Qianyu. Although Xia Qianyu was resting, she obviously didn't notice the impending danger. When Tang Ao suddenly opened his eyes, Xia Qianyu asked, "Senior brother Tang Ao, what happened?" Tang Ao nodded his head. At the same time, his heavenly polar eyes opened. Then, Tang Ao saw something covered in long white hair rapidly approaching him. At this time, the frost blood snake in Tang Ao's sleeve also sent a warning to Tang Ao. Although the frost blood snake didn't say it clearly, it still warned Tang Ao that something was approaching. 6th level Sea of Souls realm strength wasn't much of a threat to Tang Ao now. Now that Tang Ao had refined 240 layers of restrictions on the primordial sacred heaven bow, Tang Ao wanted to test out the might of the primordial sacred heaven bow. But for safety's sake, Tang Ao still decided to attack together with Xia Qianyu and the frost blood snake. Therefore, Tang Ao told Xia Qianyu his thoughts through soul transmission. When Xia Qianyu knew that a 6th level Sea of Souls realm monster was approaching, she was still a bit scared, but she quickly calmed down. When Xia Qianyu calmed down, Tang Ao said to Xia Qianyu, "Junior sister Xia, do it." After Tang Ao said that, Xia Qianyu didn't hesitate either. She dragged the mysterious clear mirror with both hands, and a deep blue halo covered the surrounding 30 meters. After being covered by the halo, the snow monster's originally rushing body suddenly stopped. The instant the snow monster was disturbed by the mysterious clear mirror, the frost blood snake hiding in the dark suddenly jumped out from the ice below. An extremely accurate ice breath completely froze the snow monster. In the ice and snow, the 7th floor of Linghai Jing's strength was not suppressed at all. Even in a one-on-one fight, this snow monster was not a match for the frost blood snake. After the frost blood snake froze the snow monster, Tang Ao immediately knocked an arrow and shot 3 mysterious sky arrows at the snow monster. With a shrill scream, the snow monster was blasted into a cloud of ice mist by the mysterious heaven arrow. After Tang Ao killed the snow monster, a jade-white ball of light appeared. Tang Ao struck out with his palm, blasting the ball of light away. Then, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu saw what was inside the ball of light. After seeing what was inside the ball of light, Xia Qinyu and Tang Ao were both stunned, because the thing inside the ball of light was the treasure from the blizzard cyclone not long ago. The only difference was that the ones carrying the treasures now were snow monsters with higher attack power and spiritual intelligence, not the snowstorm cyclones from before. The treasure in the ball of light was a spiritual herb. This spiritual herb was called the longevity herb. Based on the color of the longevity herb, it should be more than 1,000 years old. This kind of longevity herb that was more than 1,000 years old could increase one's lifespan by 260 years, be it an ordinary person or a warrior. Tang Ao had the jade bone life spirit. His vitality was immortal, and his body was immortal. Therefore, this spiritual herb was not of much use to Tang Ao. Although Xia Qinyu did not have the jade bone life spirit, she was a warrior of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing. Her lifespan was close to 3,000 years, so she was not interested in this spiritual herb. Seeing that Xia Qinyu did not want this spiritual herb, Tang Ao said to the frost blood snake, "This spiritual herb is yours." Chapter 6:11. To Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu, the longevity grass wasn't of much use. However, this prolongation grass was still a hot item in any auction house in the black-yellow continent. In order to let their elders live a few more years, some famous families would do anything to get their hands on a treasure like the longevity grass. However, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu didn't know the value of the longevity grass, so the frost blood snake got the longevity grass. The frost blood snake was at the peak of the 7th layer of the Sea of Soul realm, and had a lifespan of nearly 4,000 years. After eating this prolonging life grass, the frost blood snake had gained another 260 years, which was 120 years of life. However, the frost blood snake's intelligence was too low, and it didn't feel anything about its soul power increasing. However, to a frost blood snake that had been living in the wind and drinking dew for thousands of years, the longevity grass tasted pretty good. However, the frost blood snake felt that the white-furred monster just now must have tasted better. It was a pity that the white-furred monster had been turned into an icy mist by Tang Ao's arrow, and nothing was left of it. Therefore, the frost blood snake immediately told Tang Ao that it wanted to eat meat. Tang Ao suddenly understood. The frost blood snake had been living in the wind and drinking dew for thousands of years, and it was so greedy that it even dared to eat the ice ant queen. Tang Ao immediately agreed. "Don't worry, follow me in the future, and I'll guarantee that you'll have a good life. You'll drink wine and eat meat." Although Tang Ao wasn't sure if the frost blood snake could understand him, Tang Ao still bragged in front of it. The frost blood snake didn't understand what Tang Ao meant, but it could feel from Tang Ao's emotions that what Tang Ao said was good. "Senior brother Tang Ao, what was that just now?" Xia Qinyu had been in the snowfield for a long time, but it was her first time seeing such a monster. The strangest thing was that the treasure that had been hidden in the blizzard cyclone was now in the snow monster's stomach. Could it be that these snow monsters with flesh and blood were formed from the blizzard cyclone not long ago? With these questions in mind, Xia Qinyu looked at Tang Ao in confusion. Xia Qinyu had not sensed the arrival of the snow monsters. If Tang Ao had not warned her in advance, she might have been hit. Therefore, Xia Qinyu felt that Tang Ao should know about this kind of snow monster, which was why he could detect its existence in time. Tang Ao didn't know that this was Xia Qinyu's logic. The only reason Tang Ao was able to detect the attack of the snow monsters was because of the skypolar eyes. I don't know what kind of monster it is, but something must have happened in the snowfield. Tang Ao looked up at the snow above and suddenly had a bad feeling. Senior brother Tang Ao, should we go up and take a look at the situation on the snowfield? Xia Qinyu was really curious about what was going on in the snowfield after knowing that there might be a phenomenon happening above. Tang Ao felt a little helpless about Xia Qinyu's big heart. The two of them had been chased by Fang Hongjian and the other two not long ago, but now Xia Qinyu wanted to go up and take a look. However, Tang Ao also wanted to go up there. However, Tang Ao wasn't going to see what was happening there, but to hunt snow monsters. The treasure from the blizzard cyclone had actually appeared in the belly of the snow monster. After killing the snow monsters, he would definitely be able to obtain some priceless treasures. Tang Ao had been in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm for a long time, but apart from the primordial sacred heavenly bow, he hadn't gained much. Now that the treasure was right in front of him, there was no reason for Tang Ao to reject it. Chapter 6:12. After Tang Ao finished, Xia Qinyu immediately nodded. Xia Qinyu's situation was similar to Tang Ao's. After being in the Underworld Emperor mystic realm for so long, Xia Qinyu had not gained anything other than the sex treasure, the Supreme Purity Mystic Mirror. Therefore, Xia Qinyu wanted to take this opportunity to find some opportunities. According to Tang Ao's primordial sacred heaven bow was found in the snowstorm cyclone. Therefore, Xia Qinyu was full of anticipation for the treasure in the belly of the snow monster. The Underworld Emperor mystic realm was the inheritance mystic realm left behind by the strongest expert of the black-yellow continent, the Underworld Emperor. There were countless treasures in the mystic realm. Every time the Underworld Emperor mystic realm opened, it would cause a major reshuffle among the various forces of the black-yellow continent. In Tang Ao's previous life, there were no other 7 sects apart from the Tyrant Emperor sect. As for the 6 great families of the ancient desolation, they could only compete with the sects at the tail end of the black-yellow 8 sect. They were far from being able to compete with the black-yellow 8 sects on their own. Therefore, the opening of the Underworld Emperor mystic realm also meant that the various forces of the black-yellow continent would be reshuffled once again. Currently, the black-yellow 8 sects and the 6 great families of the ancient desolation were more powerful than the other sections. However, the gains of the various sects' disciples in the Underworld Emperor mystic realm could change this situation. The disciples of the black-yellow 8 sects and the 6 great families of the ancient desolation were much stronger than the other forces in terms of martial Dao talent and strength. However, with the passage of time, this advantage would gradually be evened out. Take Tang Ao and Yen Yen for example. Tang Ao was a disciple of the 7 Kills sect, and his martial Dao talent was far superior to others. On the other hand, Yen Yen was a disciple of a small sect with no reputation. However, Tang Ao was only at the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, while Yen Yen was at the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. If this trend continued, Tang Ao felt that by the time they left the Underworld Emperor's secret domain, there would be more than 10 life and death realm martial artists walking out. Currently, 7 Kills sect's Supreme Elder Feng Ye had cultivated for more than 10,000 years, but he was only a life and death realm martial artist. As for those who participated in the Underworld Emperor Mystic Domain's smelting trial, they wouldn't spend more than 3 years in the Underworld Emperor Mystic Domain, but they could cultivate to the life and death realm. The terrifying amount of resources in the Netherworld Emperor's mystic realm was evident from this. However, Feng Yu was already a peak-level life and death realm warrior. In Tang Ao's opinion, even some of the early astral-reaching realm warriors might not be able to compete with him. Tang Ao was a peak-level astral-reaching realm warrior in his previous life. Therefore, Tang Ao's judgment was quite reliable. As far as Tang Ao knew, apart from the Black-Yellow Continent's 8 major sects and the 6 great families of the remote antiquity, none of the other forces in the Black-Yellow Continent had any life and death realm martial artists. However, once a disciple of his sect came out of the Underworld Emperor mystic domain and became a life and death realm warrior, then the whole sect's meteoric rise was just around the corner. The Taiching sect, which Xia Qinyu came from, was already a first-class sect 10,000 years ago. Even the current Heavenly Star Sacred sect, the head of the Black-Yellow Continent's 8 major sects, couldn't make any waves in front of the Taiching sect. The 12 Taiching sect elders who besieged Tang Ao were all astral-reaching realm warriors. Any one of them could easily destroy the Heavenly Star Sacred sect. Chapter 6:13. Xia Qinyu raised her head and saw Tang Ao looking at her with an evil smile. She couldn't help but be taken aback, then looked at Tang Ao with vigilance. "Senior brother Tang Ao, what are you thinking about?" Xia Qinyu asked timidly. Tang Ao didn't see Xia Qinyu's expression and said, "I'm thinking that by the time we leave the Underworld Emperor's secret realm, we'll already be life and death realm martial artists." Xia Qinyu rolled her eyes at Tang Ao. "Senior brother Tang Ao, how could life and death realm martial artists be so easy to cultivate?" Xia Qinyu clearly didn't believe Tang Ao's words. Tang Ao was a peak astral-reaching realm 9th level martial artist in his previous life. Therefore, in Tang Ao's eyes, life and death realm was merely a process of the martial Tao. It was far from the end. However, in Xia Qinyu's sect, the sect leader with the highest cultivation base was only a martial artist on the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. Therefore, life and death realm was still very far away for Xia Qinyu. With Xia Qinyu's current cultivation base in the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, she would indeed need 30 to 50 years of cultivation to reach life and death realm in the outside world. However, in this Underworld Emperor's secret realm, it was hard to say. The opportunities in the Underworld Emperor's secret realm were simply too frightening. As long as one could find the right opportunities and treasures that could increase one's cultivation base, it wouldn't be hard to raise one's cultivation base to life and death realm in a short period of time. Back then, Murong Xiao had given Tang Ao a bottle of Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow. With Tang Ao's hidden jade body and ancient god move sky art, Tang Ao would be able to become a life and death realm martial artist by now. However, because of breaking through several levels in a short period of time, Tang Ao might not be able to display the battle power of a life and death realm martial artist after breaking through. Moreover, although Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow was precious, consuming so much of it would still damage one's foundation. Of course, because of the hidden jade body in stone, Tang Ao naturally did not worry about this problem. Tang Ao's hidden jade in stone chi could completely refine the essence of low-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow and remove all the impurities. Therefore, this Earth-grade Earth Vein Spiritual Marrow was of great help to Tang Ao. Moreover, Tang Ao also knew that wherever the Earth-grade Earth Vein Spiritual Marrow appeared, there would definitely be a Heaven-grade Earth Vein Spiritual Marrow. To a certain extent, the Earth-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow was just a waste of the Heaven-grade Earth Vein Spirit Marrow. Since Murong Xiao was able to obtain the Earth-grade spiritual marrow of the Earth Veins, and he was generous enough to share it with everyone else, Murong Xiao was definitely not a match for Murong Xiao. In Tang Ao's opinion, Murong Xiao must have a Heaven-grade Earth Vein spiritual marrow. However, this time, Tang Ao had guessed wrong. The reason why Murong Xiao was willing to share the earth-grade earth vein spiritual marrow was because he had a total of 100 bottles of it. Murong Xiao had consumed 70 bottles of earth-grade earth vein spiritual marrow, which was why he had broken through to his current level of recovery. This earth-grade earth vein spiritual marrow was extremely beneficial to one's cultivation, but the more it was consumed, the weaker the effect would be. When Murong Xiao broke through to the 6th level of Sea of Souls realm, he had only consumed 10 bottles of earth-grade earth vein spiritual marrow. However, when Murong Xiao broke through to the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, he had consumed 50 bottles of earth-grade earth vein spiritual marrow. Chapter 6:14. For ordinary people, the effects of the earth-grade spiritual essence of earth veins would weaken as they consumed more of it. However, for Tang Ao, who possessed the hidden jade and stone body and the ancient god-moving sky technique, this problem naturally didn't exist. However, Tang Ao didn't know that Murong Xiao's luck was so terrifying that he could obtain so many earth-grade spiritual essence of earth veins in one go. In the underground snow cave, Tang Ao was refining the 300th restriction on the primordial sacred sky bow. After Tang Ao's hard work during this period, Tang Ao would be able to achieve his original goal very soon. When Tang Ao obtained the primordial sacred sky bow, he wanted to refine the 300th restriction on the bow. Now, Tang Ao only lacked the last layer to achieve his goal. Tang Ao shut his eyes and sat cross-legged on the ground. The boundless soul power in his body swept towards the 300th star in the galaxy. Under Tang Ao's control, Tang Ao's abnormally powerful soul power enveloped the star completely. Originally, when Tang Ao refined the star restriction, he started from the surface of the star restriction before extending it to the entire star. Of course, this was the most correct refining method. However, the refining speed of the star restriction was simply too slow. Furthermore, Tang Ao felt that with his current soul power that was comparable to a peak martialist on the 9th floor of Linghai Jing, refining the star restriction like this would be a waste of his powerful soul power. Therefore, Tang Ao used this simple, efficient, and slightly violent method to refine the star restriction. It was also because of this that Tang Ao could refine the 300th restriction on the primordial sacred sky bow in such a short period of time. If Tang Ao had used the normal refining method, slowly refining from the surface of the star, then even with Tang Ao's powerful soul power, Tang Ao would probably only be able to refine 100 layers of the star's restrictions. In fact, the reason why Tang Ao was able to refine the astral restriction of the primordial sacred heavenly bow to 300 layers in such a short period of time was that the heavenly bow sect's Grand Elder had helped Tang Ao greatly. The Great Elder of the Heavenly Bow sect had already refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow's restriction to the 800th layer. However, after the Great Elder of the Heavenly Bow sect passed away, the restriction that had been refined was gradually sealed again. However, these star seals had been refined, and they didn't even have 1/10 of their original strength. In other words, when refining the first 800 layers of the primordial sacred heavenly bow, Tang Ao didn't need to spend too much effort. Of course, because Tang Ao currently only had the strength of a mere 5th floor of Linghai Jing, the strength of these star seals was far less than 1/10 of their original strength. However, it was still very strenuous for Tang Ao to refine these star seals. If Tang Ao were a peak astral reaching realm 9th level martialist, then Tang Ao would only need to spend 3 days to refine the first 800 layers of the primordial sacred heavenly bow. However, because Tang Ao's current strength was too low, Tang Ao had only refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow to the 300th layer after half a month of refining in this snow cave. Chapter 6:15. Therefore, when it came to Tang Ao, it was like the tree planted by the predecessors, and the descendants reaped the shade. When Tang Ao was refining the star restrictions of the primordial sacred sky bow, it could be said that he was advancing triumphantly compared to the previous owners of the primordial sacred sky bow. When Tang Ao was refining the 300th layer of the restrictions, Tang Ao's body suddenly shook, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. When Tang Ao was refining the restriction on the primordial sacred heaven bow, he did not encounter much trouble. However, this 300th restriction directly made Tang Ao cough out blood. Through the refinement just now, Tang Ao discovered that the 300th layer of star restriction had simply surpassed the refinement range of Sea of Soul realm. From Tang Ao's experience, without life and death realm strength, he probably wouldn't be able to refine the 300th layer of restrictions on the bow. The primordial sacred sky bow was a 9th grade divine weapon. Among the 11 people who obtained it, the weakest one was a 5th layer life and death realm martial artist. For someone like Tang Ao to obtain the bow with Sea of Soul's realm strength, it could be said that he had obtained great luck. Tang Ao also knew that his luck wasn't bad, but the fact that he couldn't refine the primordial sacred sky bow's 300th layer of restrictions still bothered Tang Ao. In the God Weapon Register, there weren't many records about the primordial sacred sky bow. However, there was only one sentence recorded on the divine weapon list. The primordial sacred heavenly bow contains 1,800 star restrictions. Every 300 stars is a small tribulation. After refining, one can obtain a tiny bit of the mysteries. Every 600 stars is a big tribulation. After refining, one can obtain a tiny bit of the mysteries. This sentence was very clear. After refining 300 layers of the primordial sacred heavenly bow, the primordial sacred heavenly bow would undergo a certain change. After refining 600 layers of the primordial sacred heavenly bow, the primordial sacred heavenly bow would undergo a great change. Although Tang Ao had been injured by the primordial sacred sky bow in his previous life, and he was also extremely envious of it. However, Tang Ao really didn't know much about the primordial sacred sky bow. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't know what would happen to the primordial sacred heaven bow after refining 300 layers of the star restriction. Through Tang Ao's refining of the 300th layer of restrictions, Tang Ao could deduce that, to refining the primordial sacred sky bow's 300th layer of restrictions, Tang Ao's current 9th floor of Linghai Jing's soul power and Tang Ao's 5th floor of Linghai Jing's cultivation were far from enough. As for cultivation, Tang Ao didn't have a good way to quickly improve his cultivation at the moment. With the Tang Ao's cultivation, Tang only to Tang Ao's cultivation, and to Tang's Ao's cultivation, only needed to Ao's cultivation. With the Ao's cultivation, Tang Ao would only need 30 days to perfectly raise his cultivation to the life and death realm. However, Tang Ao didn't know where Murong Xiao was, and Tang Ao didn't think he could take down Murong Xiao. If Murong Xiao fought him head-on, Tang Ao could use the primordial sacred sky bow to teach him a lesson. However, if Murong Xiao kept running, Tang Ao wouldn't be able to keep up with Murong Xiao's speed. Therefore, in the short term, it would be very difficult for Tang Ao to raise his cultivation. At least for the current Tang Ao, it was very difficult. This was because Tang Ao wasn't sure if he would obtain any good treasures when he went out to kill with the primordial sacred sky bow. It wasn't easy for Tang Ao to raise his cultivation, but it was still possible to increase his soul power. Chapter 6:16. Of course, Tang Ao couldn't directly increase his soul power to the strength of a life and death realm martial artist. However, if it was just temporarily increasing his soul power to the strength of a life and death realm martial artist, Tang Ao could still do it after paying some price. However, after Tang Ao refined the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao wanted to go out and hunt snow monsters. Therefore, Tang Ao was still weighing whether he should do it now or not. After thinking for a while, Tang Ao decided to refine the 300th restriction of the primordial sacred sky bow now. Tang Ao didn't think that the snow monsters on the snowfield would be completely hunted down in such a short period of time. Even Murong Xiao and the others wouldn't be able to deal with some powerful snow monsters. Based on Tang Ao's previous experience of chasing the snowstorm cyclone, the more powerful the snowstorm cyclone was, the more precious the treasure inside it would be. The snowstorm cyclone that enveloped the primordial sacred sky bow was already the most powerful among all the snowstorm cyclones. However, this snow monster was different from the snowstorm cyclones. The snowstorm cyclones could be continuously exhausted by martial arts life souls. However, this snow monster had no way of exhausting its strength. The blizzard cyclone would not take the initiative to attack a martial artist, but from the situation just now, it seemed that the blizzard cyclone would not take the initiative to attack. However, judging from the situation just now, this snow monster would obviously attack martial artists first. If it weren't for Tang Ao's sky polar eyes noticing the arrival of the snow monster, Tang Ao and Xia Qinyu might have been caught off guard. Fortunately, the snow monster was only at the 6th level of the Sea of Souls realm. Therefore, with the cooperation of Tang Ao, Xia Qinyu, and the frost blood snake, the snow monster was killed in one hit. Therefore, Tang Ao couldn't help but sigh at how terrifying the primordial sacred sky bow was. Without the primordial sacred sky bow, although Tang Ao could use other methods to kill this snow monster, it wouldn't be as easy as using the primordial sacred sky bow. Junior sister Xia, this primordial sacred heavenly bow has a total of 1,800 layers of restrictions. I've already refined up to the 300th layer, but because my soul power isn't strong enough, I need to use a secret technique to increase my soul power. Speaking of this, Tang Ao said apologetically, but after using the secret technique, I have to rest for at least 24 hours, so I can't immediately take you to the snowfield to kill snow monsters. Tang Ao had just boasted to Xia Qinyu that he would take her to the snowfield to kill snow monsters in 4 hours, but it seemed like he couldn't do it now. However, Xia Qinyu didn't blame Tang Ao at all. Instead, she said, "Senior brother Tang Ao, it's fine. You've already taken very good care of me. If it weren't for senior brother Tang Ao, I might not be here right now." Tang Ao knew what Xia Qinyu wanted to say, but Tang Ao didn't like Xia Qinyu saying such sad things, so Tang Ao stopped her. "Junior sister Xia, don't worry. After I refine the 300th restriction of the primordial sacred sky bow, I won't let you go back empty-handed. Moreover, the snow monsters in the snowfield are different from the snowstorm cyclone. The snowstorm cyclone can be used up continuously, and it won't attack martial artists on its own. However, these snow monsters will attack martial artists on their own. Therefore, those people definitely won't be able to kill all the snow monsters in 24 hours. After hearing Tang Ao's words, Xia Qinyu nodded. Then, she suddenly thought of something. "Senior brother Tang Ao, you just said that as long as I temporarily increase my soul power, I can refine the 300th restriction?" Tang Ao didn't know why Xia Qinyu asked this question, but he still nodded. "That's right. As long as I can increase my soul power a little more, I will definitely be able to refine the 300th restriction. However, I can only use the method of burning my blood essence to increase my soul power in a short period of time. After burning my blood essence, I won't be able to unleash my full strength for 24 hours, so I have to hide here to recover for a period of time." Chapter 6:17. After hearing Xia Qinyu's words, Tang Ao's heart was filled with joy. Tang Ao had previously thought that as an 8th-grade divine weapon, the Tai Ching mysterious mirror would not only have the superficial ability to speed up or suppress the flow of spirit power in a martial artist's body. After Tang Ao imparted the upper, middle, and lower volumes of the mental cultivation method to Xia Qianyu indeed discovered other mysteries of the Tai Ching mysterious mirror. And this method of temporarily increasing cultivation and soul power was one of them. Junior sister Xia, there's no time to lose, let's begin. After knowing that the Tai Ching mysterious mirror could temporarily increase a martial artist's cultivation and soul power, Tang Ao was somewhat expectant. Now facing the primordial sacred sky bow's 300th layer of star restriction, Tang Ao could only think of the method of temporarily increasing soul power to refine. However, the Tai Ching mysterious mirror could increase cultivation at the same time as increasing soul power. In this way, Tang Ao's confidence was also greater. After Tang Ao refined the 300th layer of star restriction, Tang Ao could bring Xia Qianyu to the snowfield to kill in all directions. However, as Xia Qianyu became more familiar with the Tai Ching mysterious mirror, Tang Ao could not say for sure who would bring who to kill in all directions. Okay, senior brother Tang Ao. After Tang Ao finished speaking, Xia Qianyu waved her lily-white hand, and the Tai Ching mysterious mirror flew above Tang Ao's head, and Tang Ao immediately sat down cross-legged. After Tang Ao sat down, the crystal-clear Tai Ching mysterious mirror suddenly emitted a gentle and holy light, enveloping Tang Ao. Under the envelopment of this light, Tang Ao felt a stream of hot air instantly flow through his limbs and bones. And Tang Ao's soul power, at this moment, had a cool and refreshing feeling, which was abnormally mysterious. Tang Ao's cultivation was originally at the early stage of the Sea of Souls realm, and under the illumination of the Tai Ching mysterious mirror, Tang Ao's cultivation actually slowly increased. From the early stage to the middle stage of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, all the way to the late stage of the 5th floor of Linghai Jing, the growth momentum showed no signs of stopping. Although this growth was only temporary, Tang Ao had to admit that the Tai Ching mysterious mirror was indeed extraordinary. Imagine a battle between two evenly matched opponents. If one of them possessed the Tai Ching profound mirror, then he would immediately be able to greatly increase his own cultivation and soul force. In this way, the opponent would definitely lose without a doubt. After the Tai Ching mysterious mirror raised Tang's cultivation to the peak stage of 5th Linghai Jing, Tang's cultivation was still increasing. As a crisp cracking sound was heard inside Tang Ao's body, the Sea of Souls realm level SIXS entrance gate was broken through. After that, Tang Ao's cultivation continued to increase, and only when he reached the 7th floor of Linghai Jing did the upward trend slow down a bit. After reaching the peak of 7th floor of Linghai Jing, the upward trend finally stopped. Right then, Tang Ao's cultivation was at the 7th floor of Linghai Jing, and Tang Ao's soul power was equivalent to a life and death realm level 1 warrior. Tang Ao clenched both of his fists, feeling like his whole body was full of power. In Tang Ao's previous life, he had reached the peak stage of astral reaching realm level 9. Therefore, a mere 7th floor of Linghai Jing was not even worth mentioning for Tang Ao. However, during this period of time, Tang Ao had been bullied by Murong Xiao and the others with their powerful cultivation. If this temporary increase in cultivation could last long enough, Tang Ao wanted to find them right now and teach them a lesson. While Tang Ao was thinking, Xia Qianyu's face turned pale, and she collapsed onto the ground. Chapter 6:18. Although Tang Ao's jade bone vitality life soul was still in Xia Qianyu's body, Xia Qianyu couldn't use it freely because she hadn't awakened it yet. At this moment, the jade bone life spirit in Xia Qianyu's body would only spontaneously repair some injuries and would not specifically repair the damage to Xia Qianyu's meridians. After Tang Ao carried Xia Qianyu also opened her beautiful big eyes. Senior brother Tang Ao, the clear sky mysterious mirror can only temporarily increase your soul power and cultivation for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Moreover, during this incense sticks time, your temporarily increased cultivation and soul power will continue to dissipate. I'm fine, you don't have to worry about me. Hurry up and refine the primordial sacred sky bow's 300th layer of astral restriction. Your meridians are injured to this extent, and you say you're fine. Although the supreme purity mysterious mirror is powerful, the burden on a warrior's meridians is too heavy. In the short term, you shouldn't use the supreme purity mysterious mirror. Tang Ao felt Xia Qinyu's internal injuries and said with a frown. At this moment, at least 70% of Xia Qinyu's meridians were damaged. Some of the damage to her meridians was more serious. If Tang Ao did not use the Jade Bone Life Spirit to help her repair her damaged meridians, Xia Qinyu's martial Dao foundation would be crippled after her meridians healed by themselves. Therefore, although Tang Ao was anxious to refine the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao naturally could not ignore Xia Qinyu's meridians' injuries. If he destroyed Xia Qinyu's martial Dao future to help him refine the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao would rather not refine the primordial sacred sky bow. Although Xia Qinyu's meridians were damaged, Tang Ao's Jade Bone Life Spirit was still rather good at dealing with such injuries. Due to overexertion and severe damage to her meridians, Xia Qinyu fell asleep in Tang Ao's arms. Tang Ao had seen many people sleep, and there was no lack of beauties among them. But Xia Qinyu's sleep was the most special. When Xia Qinyu fell asleep, Tang Ao could only think of the word beautiful to describe her. It made people want to kiss her, but they couldn't bear to wake her up. Thus, Tang Ao allowed Xia Qinyu to lie in his arms as he healed her damaged meridians. At this moment, Xia Qinyu's meridians were severely damaged. Tang Ao had experienced this kind of injury in his previous life, so he knew what it felt like. When the meridians were damaged, the meridians in the entire body would feel a burning pain. This kind of pain penetrated deep into the bone marrow, making people feel abnormally uncomfortable. However, when Xia Qinyu used the mysterious clear mirror to raise Tang Ao's cultivation and soul power, the entire process was extremely quiet. It was so quiet that it was as if she wasn't using the mysterious clear mirror to raise Tang Ao's cultivation, but was instead breathing freely. Thus, Tang Ao did not notice that Xia Qinyu's meridians had been damaged to such an extent. Following that, Tang Ao was shocked again. This was because Tang Ao suddenly realized that perhaps it wasn't because Xia Qinyu didn't care about her meridians being damaged, but because Tang Ao's Jade Bone Life Spirit was in Xia Qinyu's body. The Jade Bone Life Spirit was constantly repairing the damage in Xia Qinyu's body, and the Jade Bone Life Spirit also had the ability to relieve pain. Chapter 619. Tang Ao originally thought that since the Tai Ching mysterious mirror only placed a great burden on a martial artist's meridians, then using the Jade Bone Life Soul could completely overcome this problem. Now it seemed that Tang Ao was too optimistic. Of course, if Tang Ao separated a child life soul of the Jade Bone Life Soul for Xia Qinyu to refine, then this method would still be feasible. However, the current Jade Bone Life Soul clearly did not have the ability to separate. Therefore, when Tang Ao transferred the Jade Bone Life Soul into her body, he must remind her to pay attention. At this moment, Xia Qinyu's meridians were extremely chaotic. Although Tang Ao was anxious to refine the 300th star restriction of the primordial sacred sky bow, Tang Ao also had to correct and repair the meridians in Xia Qinyu's body. Otherwise, if Xia Qinyu's martial Dao foundation was damaged because he wanted to refine the 300th star restriction, Tang Ao's heart would definitely be tormented. With the help of the Tai Ching mysterious mirror, Tang Ao's cultivation had been raised to the level of the 7th floor of Linghai Jing. His soul power had broken through the limit of Sea of Souls realm martial artists and was comparable to Life and Death realm martial artists. With such cultivation and soul power, If Tang Ao were to refine the primordial sacred sky bow with all his might, he would definitely succeed in one fell swoop. However, Tang Ao could not split himself at this moment. Xia Qianyu had suffered such a serious injury. If Tang Ao did not take care of her, then Xia Qianyu could be said to have no fate with martial Dao in the future. Therefore, Tang Ao had to focus on helping Xia Qianyu repair the damage to her meridians before he could consider refining the 300th star restriction. After Tang Ao carefully examined Xia Qianyu's internal injuries, Tang Ao knew that with Tang Ao's current control of the Jade Bone Life Soul, it would be impossible to repair and correct the meridians in Xia Qianyu's body without an hour, let alone 30 minutes. At the thought of this, Tang Ao could only sigh to himself. It seemed like he had to take some time to refine the 300th layer of the primordial sacred sky bow's star restriction. If Tang Ao had known that Xia Qianyu would suffer such injuries after using the mysterious clear mirror to raise his cultivation, Tang Ao would have long since used the secret technique of burning his essence blood to temporarily break through to the life and death realm. Then, he would have refined the primordial sacred heavenly bow in one go. In this way, although Tang Ao would need to rest for 24 hours to recover his strength, Xia Qianyu would not be injured. Now that Xia Qianyu was injured like this, she would not be able to move for at least 3 to 5 days. Xia Qianyu was unconscious and had no ability to protect herself. Even if Tang Ao burned his blood essence to refine the primordial sacred sky bow, he could not leave Xia Qianyu's side. This snowfield was unpredictable and filled with danger. Even at his peak, Tang Ao had almost been hit several times. If Xia Qianyu encountered any trouble while unconscious, she would undoubtedly die. Sigh. I wonder when I can refine the 300th layer of the star restriction. Tang Ao looked at the primordial sacred sky bow floating in front of him and could not help but sigh. As Tang Ao sighed, the primordial sacred sky bow also trembled slightly. Tang Ao did not find this strange, because this primordial sacred sky bow had an artifact spirit. When Tang Ao did not control the primordial sacred sky bow, it was the artifact spirit that controlled the primordial sacred sky bow. The commotion just now was caused by the primordial sacred sky bow's artifact spirit. However, this primordial sacred sky bow's artifact spirit had low intelligence and was even dumber than the frost blood snake. Therefore, when Tang Ao used the primordial sacred sky bow to fight, Tang Ao always told the artifact spirit not to interfere and let him control the primordial sacred sky bow. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.